Yeah, if we just had a little turntable here on the table, and I could
Wiki.
Yeah,
use your ring for it.
Yeah,
I had a spinner ring one time, which was super cool for a while because it was just like super
just
neat.
Something you could always kind of mess with.
Yeah, but then it got dirty, which it's understandable.
Dirty.
It gets hand grease in it and stuff. It gets all fucking nasty. But then like it would stop spinning.
Well, then you got to clean out the grit. We're here to clean out the grit here on the Giant Bombcast. I'm Jeff Gerstmann, your host for the week. Brad Shoemaker is out handling some personal business.
Big Brad is out.
That's right. Yes.
Drew Scanlon
down there
I don't know
on the boards.
I don't know. I pressed a button over here.
Drew is working the boards and supposed to be working security to keep people from getting in here and just yelling shit.
Yeah, sorry.
But keep that door locked, I guess.
Yeah.
Jason A. Stryker is here. How you doing?
How's it going?
Good.
Real good.
Yeah. And Peter Brown of GameSpot fame is here with us.
Oh, fame?
Yeah.
Fame?
Infamy.
Infamy.
There you go.
Yeah. The man with the PVM on his desk.
Yes.
Ooh.
Doing real business in here to I just want to talk about that stuff. But,
Me too.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's get right on into it then. Why don't we just go around and talk about what's been going on? Jason,
Yeah.
You've been playing some Injustice.
Yeah,
right?
a little bit. Well, trying to anyway. So
Yeah.
they had a closed beta. We got a code late last week. Immediately downloaded that son of a bitch because I like me some Injustice. I played that an awful lot. So.
I liked it a lot too, but you have taken that. You are on another level of enjoyment of that game than I ever was, and I liked it.
I can't say that I was ever like competitive with it, but we played it in lobbies, with friends for months actually. So I was eager to hop into this. They had 4 characters available, Batman, Superman, Supergirl, and the guy, I can't pronounce his name, but it looks like atrocious, but it's not atrocious. Atroticus, something like that.
All right.
He's some big red dude, and he's got a cat that he can like summon, and cat spits out stuff. Anyway, those 4 characters were available. Online only beta. No training mode, no local anything.
Yeah, I mean, this is them testing netcode and stuff, right?
So it was like a beta test, which is great. So they're using like the GGPO style netcode and stuff, and I was able to get into a match right away. Ping was like somewhere around 200, and I'm like, fuck, this is going to suck.
Yeah.
But it actually played pretty well.
Huh.
And I think with most like GGPO like rollback style systems, it's going to be hit or miss. There's really no just kind of middle ground with that. You're going to have really good matches, or it's just going to be fucking unplayable.
Right.
And for the most part, everything seemed really good, even with that like higher ping. Everything played pretty well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was not able to do too much. I really wanted to use Kara. Really wanted to use Supergirl. But everybody other killers, man. Like they've been playing Superman and Batman since the first game.
Right. So they're just picking those 2 characters, which probably haven't changed that much.
That's what I was encountering anyway.
Okay.
And I was just getting blown up. I'm like, I don't even know her moveset.
Yeah.
But no, it seems to play, nearly identically to the first game for good or for bad.
Right. Yeah.
But what they've added now is like the costumes, like not gems, but the loot. You get fucking loot almost for every match, and these are like equipable items that increase your stats. And they're also cosmetic as well, which is super cool.
Right. But that was playing that game at E3. That seemed like the big concern, I know, coming away from it.
Absolutely.
It was like, okay, they're going to have loot that has stats on it. That sounds a lot like the gems from Street Fighter Cross Tekken, but maybe without the pre-ordering, or but how do you keep that balanced? Like, do you get a sense, do the stats work online, or is that probably part of what they're testing now?
So talking to them at E3, they seemed like they were really going to double down on that stuff, and they really want to implement it into the game. That stuff does work online, but there is a way to have both competitors select competitive mode.
Okay.
That would turn off those, but it's got to be a mutual thing. So if one person turns on the competitive mode, the other person would have to.
It's like throws disabled. If you don't both hit the block button, it's not gonna work.
Exactly. I never had anybody turn it off, but I was checking out a bunch of streams and stuff too, and some people were turning it off and running sets and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious to see where they'll land on that, because it seemed, talking to them at E3, it seemed like that was a concept that they were willing to at least walk away from if they got to a point where they're like, okay, we can't actually balance this.
Yeah, I don't see how they could. Yeah,
but
because some of those stats were like super significant, like a 10% bonus to damage. Might not sound like a ton, but like in a fighting game like this, that's a big deal.
I guess if they were to just match you up with people who have done as much grinding as you have to get as much gear, then theoretically they could keep it balanced that way. It's just like everyone's just always kind of at a similar power level or something like that.
Yeah, if you had like a point pool or something, to kind
Right.
of draw from, like you can't go above that or whatever. But so this was framed as like unranked matches and stuff. You could rematch, do quick rematch right away, which was great. So I don't know how the ranked mode is going to work out, if that stuff's going to be turned off by default or not. But yeah, dude, I'm really excited for this game.
How'd it look?
Looks really good, like a significant improvement over the first game. They're doing some crazy stuff with like lighting effects. Like they're really like fucking shining spotlights on these guys, and you're getting some amazing effects. It's kind of to its detriment as well, because if those light effects are off, there's certain times in the stages where everything goes kind of dark and you can barely see the guys. It's very dramatic and it looks cool. It's kind of hard to play, but
I wonder if that's just a background by background thing. There's like, here's our dark stage. Here's
totally.
that. Do they have like the same kind of? I try to remember because we did play it at E3, but that was a long time ago. Like all the background stuff, it was like you had the speed guys that would jump off of things, and you had the power guys that would just grab the thing and throw it at you. Is it still?
I want to say
or do they unify it?
I want to say that they unified that.
I think I seem to remember that being.
Yeah,
what it was.
I don't recall. Yeah, I don't recall for sure. But yeah, that does stick out. But yeah, there's stage transitions and such, and plays pretty much the same. I'm really excited for it.
So you seem reluctant to record any video of this game.
Fuck
on account
that,
of
man! Oh my god, I was getting killed out there. I'm like, how do I frame this? Like, I go online, I would get blown up. I can't even like show off all of her moves. I'm like, and then Vinny was like, you could show off, all your super moves. I'm like, no, I can't even land anything.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? But,
well, maybe we'll just solve it this way. We'll just do it and I'll play.
Okay.
I'll take the beating.
There you go.
We can maybe put something up that way.
It might be worth it.
Yeah.
My
Because I just want to see
fragile.
it. I just want to see some of that game because it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's out in April?
Sure.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
April,
I think
May,
so.
somewhere around there?
Early.
Yeah.
God, I forget.
How long does the beta run?
I don't know. I think they're sending out like new waves of codes
they haven't
still,
finished
so.
sending out codes, so it's kind of I signed up just on the website, like through the public sign up stuff, and have not gotten a code yet.
Neither am I.
Yeah.
They don't know who you are?
I mean, they sent me one separately that I gave to Jason, but
we had to like knock down Pierre's door.
Yeah, they were kind of like, we don't have any, so which makes me think that maybe they just launched this beta as like, no, we actually need to test the fucking net code. We're not trying to get a bunch of coverage. We just want
and
but
like
then
even
eventually
Boone's out there like on
over.
Twitter saying, like if you guys have any, like make sure you submit feedback to this.
Yeah,
it's not like a promotional kind of beta. That's
it
awesome.
wasn't like a pre-orders only kind of deal. I guess.
Oh god,
But,
yeah. Speaking of betas, also playing the For Honor beta. That was just over the weekend. So that game continues to be something that I really want to like. I don't know how. Oh my god, I'm really bad at that game.
Yeah, they ran that beta before, and I played it a little bit here and there. I actually liked the single player stuff that I played.
It's cool.
Back in E3.
Yeah.
It just mechanically, it seems like it has depth and all this other stuff going on. But I'm not like when I look at it, I go like, oh, this all seems really well made, and this seems like a game that I am probably not going to like play a lot of after it comes out or something. It seems like it'll attract an audience, but I don't know.
There's a big barrier there, like as far as like difficulty is concerned, because there's a lot of mechanics going on. I think they do a pretty good job of like they have supplementary like tutorial videos that show you how to use your particular character, which will help people
play your
ramp
fucking
up.
class.
Yeah, exactly. I was watching some streams. This guy who's a pro gamer, not necessarily like a fighting game guy, but he had been playing for 7 hours straight, and like he was just demoralized at the end of it because he was getting blown up. And
Wow.
It was fascinating to have him like go through like all these scenarios. Like why am I getting beat by this? Why am I why is this working out for me but this isn't? So like a lot of like fighting game style just thought process going into it, which is heartening to me because
that's cool.
It seems like it's going to be really deep. I don't.
Yeah, we'll see. They've got an open beta coming up, I think. So if people want a larger chance to play it seems like they'll get their opportunity before they have to put any money into it. But yeah, I don't know. Everything about it looks really nice, and every time
it plays well. Yeah,
like the guy that they have go up on stage and talk about it, like you can sense his passion coming out of him. You're just like, okay, no, this is like,
And if you don't,
really
he will
going for
fucking
it.
beat it into you. With that cane.
No, exactly. He will take the cane, and it's probably a sword cane, right? It's got to be a sword cane.
I would hope so.
Hopefully it is.
Compared to Bushido Blade, more punishing, less punishing?
Bushido Blade is like one-hit kills.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super punishing.
Right. No, so the guy, though, he talks so much about his passion. He said, I'm trying to put all of this in there. But a lot of the footage I've seen, people seem to be getting by kind of just like screwing around and forcing it.
That's the thing.
So I feel like a lot of that gets lost in making the game accessible.
I wonder if it'll just end up being one of those things where like low level play is going to look like low level play, but the people that stick with it, will they eventually get to a point where like anyone walking up to them and mashing is just going to get ruined?
You hope, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that
you
would be
hope.
the test of a good fighting
But that's-
system.
Right.
But I wonder if that's
not
going to happen.
necessarily the case. So
Right.
I heard a saying recently: don't play chess with a pigeon.
Yeah.
Because they will just shit on the board, knock over the pieces, and then strut around like they won the game.
It's the
So
Dan Reichert
it
school
is the Dan
of fighting
Reichert.
games.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So and I'm
precisely.
sure that there's going to be people out there that are just mashing until, and that'll get them up to a certain point, I think. But hopefully stronger heads will prevail.
Yeah. I don't know. Bushido Blade
see.
feels like such a different. Bushido Blade has that one-on-one thing, right? You know,
Yep.
it's not the objectives, it's not the other stuff that you have
that's
to
true.
consider. Like Bushido Blade is just like, I am going to fucking fight you,
Yeah.
and one hit might finish this fight.
I guess I forgot about that. So For Honor has less one-on-one stuff.
It's like you're capturing objectives and stuff like
Yeah.
that. There's a bunch of
Ooh.
AI in the middle of those fights too. So it's like, what is it? It's like
Oh,
6 on
really?
6 or something, or 4
Oh,
on 4?
there's a bunch of different
Okay.
modes. So
Oh, shit.
But yeah,
No,
there's a bunch of
okay.
AI that like fodder enemies in the middle of that thing
Yeah.
to help you kind of level up, like I guess MOBA-esque
Yeah.
in that way.
Gotcha.
But then you can also do just like straight up 2-on-2 without
Okay.
the mobs and stuff, or 1-on-1.
Okay.
Okay, so you can just have those fights.
Show
Okay.
enough.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought it was going to be. But
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
seems
no,
like
it's like
the,
a larger Battlefield kind of thing.
And that
almost.
seems
It's
super interesting, and it's really fun.
not Battlefield in the sense of Battlefield the franchise, but
Correct.
Yeah,
Oh no.
Battlefield.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's besides some like preview stuff, that's all I've been playing.
Cool.
Really,
Cool.
for the most part, beta stuff.
Beta stuff.
Shit that ain't out yet.
That's a very January thing to do. There's maybe not
Yeah, for
a
some
ton
people.
coming out right now, but there's stuff coming up.
There's a lot of Jason games coming out.
Yeah,
So-
no, I've seen a lot of anime flowing through this
Fucking
office.
A. Yeah,
so-
a Mega Force up the.
oh well, also yeah, a lot
Wahoo.
of Dynasty Warriors God Eater. That's what that game's called, right? So you're all over
No,
it.
no, God, it's God's Seeker.
Oh,
No, I
all right,
don't
okay.
want.
Well,
I
all
don't
right.
want. Why slow down like a Dynasty Warriors game to like a tactical turn-based thing? That's not what I want. That's not what I wanted at all. out
It's
of
like
a
for the next
Dynasty
3
Warriors
turns, I'm
game.
just going to be hitting square.
Fuck that.
That's I want to attack, and then I want to attack. And that's
I can't even mash out the menus. Like I don't. May as well just fill it with like visual novel stuff.
now you're talking.
Break up the action.
Yeah.
Yeah. Highs and lows.
Yeah.
No.
Peter, what you been into lately?
Yakuza, which
Yeah.
you guys know. Well,
Yeah. I've been playing a little bit of that myself.
Yeah.
It's how much previous experience with that series had you had?
very little.
Yeah.
I played like a few hours of some of the games, but committed to the review for this one, mostly because I felt like I missed out on 5 last year.
Right.
That was the first time where I felt like maybe I really want to play Yakuza, but it just didn't fit into my schedule. So 0
Same here. Yeah.
was perfect. I got it way ahead of time, and that game is just, dare I say it, the best.
It's
Something special there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I like the time period. I like that kind of
Yeah.
late 80s Tokyo kind of vibe. I
Yeah.
think is really fun to see.
It's a prequel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a prequel. So you kind of know how it's going to end if you know what happens in Yakuza 1. Or I guess maybe not exactly how it ends, but the situation at least.
But everything in the middle is super unpredictable, right? For the most
yeah,
part.
yeah, I'd
And-
say so. Yeah.
So that kept me really happy and busy for a while. And I beat the game in 50 hours, only 16% completion rate.
Got to go play more Space Harrier.
I guess so.
Yeah.
What else is in the middle though? Like you've got 16% done.
So as you run around the town, as you probably know, you meet people that have like little side stories for you.
Sure.
There are 100 of those in the game, like exactly, I think. And I did 30, something like that.
Okay.
But then there are a lot of optional challenges, like you run a real estate business, right? So how far are you going to take that business? What accomplishments are you going to achieve?
All right. So it's not necessarily just like collectibles. It's actual like side
There are
story.
collectibles.
Okay.
You need to find pictures of girls if you want to watch softcore porn videos of them,
As you do.
as you do.
Yeah.
And there is an item that will indicate to you with a sound when you are near one, just so you don't miss any.
What kind of
you know.
sound does it make?
Bring.
Oh, like a
But nothing
okay.
special.
Oh, gotcha.
right.
You know, that very specific.
I would
sound.
hoping it'd be like a moaning noise
Yeah.
or something cool, Yeah.
Oh, you almost made me do it.
Got to zero in on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but besides, I've actually been playing this game lately called Limelight.
Tell me about this.
You know about this?
Yeah, actually, I saw a trailer for it yesterday. Then I watched some like extended gameplay for like 5 minutes. The music in that, like, I just kept looping it. Like, it was very, very zen.
Last week, I found myself in the rare position where I had nothing on my plate.
Nice.
So what did I do? I went through all the code I'd received and saw this game. And like you, I watched the trailer and I was captivated. It's a minimalist puzzle game. You're simply trying to guide this little beam of light along a path from one end to another. And there are things that interrupt you that you have to manage. Sometimes it's an obstacle. Sometimes it's an enemy. And sometimes you have to work with your enemies via using their behavior against them, or literally dictating what they do by using like magnetic powers or taking advantage of the fact that they only move when you do. So it's a very, it's sort of, there are 6 worlds and I think like 12 to 20 puzzles in each world. And each world introduces a new mechanic and kind of builds on it in different ways. It's a really great experience. And, you call it Zen, like it definitely is that. Like I expected that, but when I played it for the first 10 minutes, I was kind of like, man, I forgot about all the bullshit in the world, everything else. I was just focused on just
I need that.
being at peace, which sounds really fucking cheesy, but it's totally true. And this is the sort of game that like you could plow through, but you shouldn't. You should really kind of save it for when you like maybe need a break from something, because the puzzles are challenging enough that the first time you encounter them, good and fun, and then so the presentation and all of that remains the other part of the equation, which is peaceful. Without the puzzles being challenging, I don't know the game would be as great. It has a lot of reasons to replay it because there are hidden paths and hidden puzzles.
Okay,
but even going back to play the PS4 version after beating the PC one, I was sort of like, well, the second time around isn't as great.
Like now that you kind of know what to expect and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I knew I could have looked for hidden pathways, but, for me, the goal was to beat the game, not to complete it.
Right.
So I don't feel necessarily compelled to do that. And it doesn't really compel you to do that in a great way. But yeah, just a really refreshing change of pace.
That sounds great.
That's been still Picross 3D round 2 for me has been very much that kind of just like, okay, I just need to kind of focus on a thing.
Yeah.
But it's not like I started over and I've plowed back through it on hard and I've got that stuff just down to such a science now that it feels very mechanical. It's not doing it for me the way it did, 10 hours ago. And it's like I'm still really digging it, but it's not filling the void the way that it once did.
I consistently found puzzles in Limelight that would challenge me, but never for more than like 10 minutes or so, which I feel like is perfect.
Yeah.
Some of them are simple enough you could kind of brute force your way through it. Like they all take only seconds to solve once you know what to do. So you can kind of like, screw around and try to get through something, but a lot of them you can't. So you do kind of have to step back and like you almost want to draw out the puzzle, but time is a factor. And how the hell do you draw time? It becomes very challenging. So where Picross kind of like lays out some of the ground rules and the variables like for you along the way, it's all about just escalating your abilities, spatial reasoning, timing, even reflexes.
Yeah.
You have to act fast on some occasions.
And that's out pretty soon, right? That's like
today.
It's out today.
Today, okay, all right, yeah.
My review should be going up later today.
Cool.
So.
All right, that sounds good. Yeah, we were thinking about taking a look at that.
Yeah. What's the price on that guy? I'm just curious.
I don't know.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Right.
Don't ask me the developer because I forgot.
That's fine.
Anything else you've been into lately?
That's a
game wise,
Yeah, no.
Yeah. We'll get into that.
I got a lot to talk about retro games and video stuff. But should we get into it now or should we save it?
Well, I don't know. Let's talk to Drew real quick, and I think that might just end up leading us there.
Well,
you've been going down a similar road.
Yes, I have. I did want to touch on one thing.
Let's touch on one thing, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back and get real.
All right, sounds good. I have been playing a beta also, the X-Plane 11 beta.
All right.
Which if anyone out there is familiar with X-Plane,
that's some serious shit, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems like so when Microsoft Flight Simulator stopped being the hardcore flight simulator, X-Plane was the one that everybody jumped to, or they just played, the old flight simulator.
Right.
But it always had this feeling of like open source software or something. It wasn't. You pay for it.
Right.
But it was like it was up to X-Plane 10, and it felt like they just kept tacking on until it was just like an impossible piece of software to use.
Yeah.
X-Plane 11, it seems like they started over.
Cool.
So it is super slick, and I'm really enjoying it.
Huh.
Even down to I I bought it, or I bought X-Plane 10 to like help me with my flying lessons.
Yeah.
And this one helps even more because one of the hardest things that I have or one of the hardest things for me in my lessons now is communication. And you can start not even on the runway, but like off to the side on the airport, like where your plane is parked. And then there's like a system where it will like tutorialize you talking to the ground, talking to the tower, and then talking to I don't even know what they're called. There's a guy you talk to when you're not talking to an airport. He's called NorCal. Like when you're just flying around Northern California, you talk to NorCal.
Yeah, just talk to NorCal. Yeah.
So and like it's a really complex system of communication back and forth when they hand you off from one thing to another. So it's like that. You're flying a plane and then you have to talk to these people and use their own lingo.
Right.
So having like a tutorialized version of that is really, really helpful.
Wow.
Are you actually talking to them or just like choosing menu
No,
stuff?
you're like picking menu stuff.
Sure.
And it has like the ARMA generated speech stuff.
Nice.
Like 3, 9er, 2.
So
it does
I
help.
was gonna say, does the menu just have like wrong choices on it? Is you just like you push the 4 key and it's just like fuck you, I can fly this plane myself? Like what are the wrong answers you can choose?
I think it's more it's tuning to the right frequency.
Okay.
So here's what you would say next. Who do you say it to?
Yeah. Okay.
And then you have to pick that.
You have to pick you look on the back of the CD case and you just get the right frequency and then you tune to that and then call them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I could use some more practice with communication. Actually, yesterday during my lesson, I was talking to the tower to come into land, and they told me that I was cleared for landing.
Yeah.
And so I'm lining up. I'm on the final approach, which is when you're lined up, ready to touch down.
Yeah.
Like looking straight at the runway, and this Learjet just comes onto the runway and sits right where I'm about to land.
Cool.
Like 20 seconds before I'm about to land.
Yeah.
And like 2 seconds went by and I was just, and then the tower told me to like abort.
Yeah.
And my instructor was so angry with the tower guy. Like very passive aggressive, like, so what happened there? Like this was air traffic screwing up, not me.
Okay, yeah.
But it was exactly that thing that like we prepare for this exact circumstance.
Like, okay, now what?
When they tell you to the phrase is go around, like you are supposed to instinctively like push the throttle in and take your flaps up. And that's exactly what I did. So I guess the training's working.
Damn.
Yeah.
But it was only until afterward that it was, that was kind of scary.
Yeah. Like, okay, now that we've made it through this and, hey, you did it. Great. This is going to happen sometimes. Now let's figure out what the fuck happened.
Right.
Yeah. Huh.
Playable in VR?
I don't know. I haven't yet tried it with Track IR, but X-Plane 10 worked with Track IR, so
okay.
I assume that it would.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to digging into more of that. It's a lot, but it's much more streamlined. Like I would not recommend X-Plane 10 to any mortal, but X-Plane 11, yeah.
It's got some stuff in it for everybody. Okay.
Sure.
All right, cool. Well, why don't we take a quick break? We'll come back and continue with the Giant Bombcast.
Clear.
It's time to get the food delivered to you.
To me?
To you.
Cool.
Directly to your home. These ingredients can be sent by Blue Apron, and you can concoct them into delicious meals.
Food alchemy.
Yes.
You pour them all in the cauldron and stir it around.
That is exactly what the directions say, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You can build a strong family bond by cooking together.
Can't the family that cooks together?
They eat together. Usually.
Okay, you cook and then you eat.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. Don't eat then cook. That's not how this goes. They send you the ingredients and exactly how to prepare this stuff, and then at the end of it, you get these delicious meals. Do you want to hear about what these delicious meals are in January? Okay. Spicy shrimp and Korean rice cakes with cabbage and fear cake. For fear.
I don't know. I got nothing for you.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what it says. It says fear cake, and I started looking it up independently because I'm like, that can't be right.
I still don't know what it is, so I can't help you.
Furikake.
Sure.
That's
Shrimp are good.
Yeah, yes.
I'll eat some shrimp.
pork chops and garlic picada with scallion rice and spinach.
Definitely eat some pork chops.
Well, all right. How about mushroom and chipotle pepper enchiladas with lime sour cream?
Yeah, enchiladas are good.
Yeah, lime.
Lime?
Yeah.
Limes are good.
I like a lime. I like a lemon.
Mm-hmm.
I like a lemon and a lime.
Some citrus.
Yeah. Put them together. What do you got? Lemon lime.
Lemon lime.
Lemon
There you
lime.
go. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Blue Apron will send you these meals, and you can get your first 3 meals for free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/bombcast. You will love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so don't wait. That's blueapron.com/bombcast. Blue Apron, a better way to cook. And we're back.
Yeah.
All right. Very quickly, I've been playing Gunman Taco Truck. I messed around with that a little bit. That is from Romero Games.
Yeah.
John Romero.
Mhm.
Oh,
And I only bring it up because when Danny O'Dwyer was on the show, he brought it up. I messed with it a little bit. It's got some neat ideas in it. Like it
Seems like it.
kind of like the PC version kind of feels like a mobile game in terms of its UI and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it's part you on the road wasteland shooting things, but then
Right.
as you shoot these radioactive animals, you're getting food. And then when you pull into the next stop, you have to figure out the balance between buying ingredients to make your food, buying gas to keep moving.
Yep.
Occasionally getting some upgrades, I think, along the way. And then also there's a straight up like mini game style, make these tacos to get money. The faster you make them, the bigger tip you might get a tip if you're
That
fast
seems
enough. And
great, like a good training thing. Like
Are you
it
making
seems
them-
like the country's like going in this direction?
making them
Yeah.
for Satan, or is he helping you make them? Or
No. So far, the devil has not reared his head. So
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if it's truly a John Romero joint.
Right.
But yeah, no. They're just people hanging out at these rest stops that just want some tacos, and you're just like, okay, well, here's some of the tail of the weird half cat, half fish thing I shot on the road.
Oh, delicious.
And some cilantro and some cheese and salsa, and then you hit the button. The only thing, my biggest problem with it is that the recipes for the tacos are not displayed on screen. There's a book you can kind of click on and open up.
Right.
So you're kind of supposed to memorize, like when they say, like, oh, I want a catfish taco or a carne asada. Like you're supposed to know
Not
exactly.
necessarily that you want to make it in your kitchen.
Yeah. You just need to know which 4 items you need to click on, and so there's a memorization process there that I don't know that that's like a fun gameplay thing.
Yeah, gotcha.
As opposed to just like if they just displayed it on screen at all times, that would probably be.
What game was it? Was it IDARB that had like recipes and like
Yep.
that was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Those are
yeah.
nice
The
bonuses.
IDARB recipe section is prety good. I didn't make any of those, but I certainly did think about it.
Shit.
And then also Double Dragon 4 came out.
Which is a mess, apparently, right?
I played it.
really? Wow.
I played it up to mission 8 on the PC last night. I don't know how many missions it has, but like I full screened it, and it seemed like the edges, like I could walk my character halfway off the edge of the screen because it just didn't seem like it was.
What?
The borders were quite right.
It's
I'm
and-
imagining
meta.
you mean
It's
like
a
off of
meta-
your monitor.
Off, yeah, right.
Into
yeah,
real
yeah.
space.
Just Billy's out there doing it.
Get off those radioactive tacos, man.
Yeah. It's interesting and strange, and it's weird that they made it at all, and the direction. Like,
Sure.
when they said, hey, we're going to make a new Double Dragon game because we bought the rights to that, and we're Arc, like, the Arc name, I feel like, comes with some expectations for 2D graphics
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
style
They're doing
and
all
stuff
the
like that.
Cuneo games now,
Right,
Like, they're-
yeah. But, like, and they were like, oh, we've got talent from the original Double Dragon games. And you're like, okay, great. But this is based off the NES Double Dragon games,
Yeah.
which is super, like, just a really
Well,
strange thing.
I don't know. Those are definitely the sprites that first come to mind. I think for me, I did play it in the arcade, but I think I spent most of my playing.
For me,
playing
it's
time
just
on
a
the
Bobo.
NES.
The home of Bobo is definitely what I think of, as opposed to arcade Bobo, which looks like a more realistic,
Yeah.
like theoretically possible creation. Kind
Sure,
of,
yeah.
in a kind of like this much
In a
closer.
radioactive taco kind of way.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas like full on radioactive taco Abobo is just this giant headed monster. Anyway, So like I said, I played the first 8 missions of it. I didn't really encounter any technical glitches other than it just didn't seem like a good full screen. I have a 16:10 monitor. I don't know if that did anything with it, but it just like it scrolls strangely. There are a lot of cases where you're fighting things that are off screen. Because you're just like standing at the edge of the screen
Yeah,
punching
okay.
until a thing dies, and you don't really have room to let it come on screen. The
That's
structure,
kind of like on par for a lot of like side-scrolling
yeah.
beat 'em ups
So, like,
for the
yeah.
time.
I saw a clip going around where people were doing the roundhouse kicks and the foot wasn't connecting with the enemy. They were like 20, 30 pixels away,
Yeah.
but still acting as though that they were hit.
yeah,
Feature.
Like weird things like that seem to stand out.
the hitboxes on a lot of stuff seems a little strange. It goes
Yeah.
both ways. Like there are some that feel really generous, and some that you really feel like you're nailing that elbow and it's just not happening. Whereas like if you on standing up, if you punch, it's like a Mortal Kombat style uppercut. Like it knocks them up into the air, and you'll hit 4 guys with that thing, as you're standing up sometimes because it's just so. No. Well, if there are, I was unable to do them, but I definitely like did that punch in a
Felt like
corner
you
and
could.
felt like I was mashing on a punch button and not catching them on the way down. So I don't think so. They've added a lot of moves to it and stuff,
Really?
but it's still a 2-button game primarily. Like you can kind of map all of the additional moves to extra buttons, and you can have a dedicated jump button if you want. But it's like you hit both punch and kick to jump, like it was an NES. And then there's a lot of platforming in it, which is why they needed a dedicated jump button, because sometimes you hit both buttons and then he punches and then you walk off the ledge and die.
Fun time.
There's like so I got to like mission 8. Which seemed like I was getting close to a conclusion. I don't know. Maybe it was like kind of a midpoint. It's hard to say how much is actually in that game. But
This is such a weird thing. Like I initially thought that
the platforming was just terrible. The platform, like
it always has
died.
been.
Yeah. It was like as bad as it's ever been, because
Great.
it's a sequence where you can't walk up or down. Kind of where they would put their platform sequences. Previously, and it was a platform that would disappear if you standed on it for a good long time, and then a gear that would rotate and stop and rotate and stop. And so if you were on the gear when it rotated, it would knock you back onto the platform that was getting ready to disappear because you were just standing on it. So it was just like, oh, I just lost 6 lives in a row to this thing, and I'm probably not going to play this game anymore.
The worst of Mega Man and Castlevania.
Totally, yeah. It was just and like a control scheme that is not conducive to that sort of stuff, and it just didn't need to be in there. I don't know.
But let's talk about what's important here. What is the plot?
Okay, so the plot is all over the place. The plot is you have set up a bunch of dojos. So this is set after the events of Double Dragon 2.
Not 3.
Because no one likes to remember that Double Dragon 3 happened, because that game was terrible.
What about 5?
And 5, that's again
fighting game?
Yeah.
Real good.
And then Rage of the Dragons, which is not officially licensed, but still pretty good.
Sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Kind of a different,
All right, so you got dojos.
so you got dojos, and you're like Billy and Jimmy in a car driving across the Southwest United States to get to the West Coast dojo.
Awesome.
And then you get jumped by a bunch of wastelanders.
Yep.
And then while that was okay. So this is set after the events of Double Dragon 2.
What happened at the end of there?
I don't. It does the end. The end doesn't matter. The beginning of Double Dragon 2 is what matters. It's where Marion, your girlfriend,
They mess her up.
gets gunned the fuck down.
Yep.
But maybe not on the NES, and maybe that's why they've done this. So she's still alive in this game. Like, there's a sequence where you're like, while you were distracted, we got your girlfriend.
What?
And then it cuts to,
Her
like,
corpse?
the garage from Double Dragon 1 and her getting punched in the stomach and carried away all over again.
Like as a flashback?
Only, or no, that's like a simultaneously happening because you weren't there to protect her.
Gotcha.
And then you can't walk out of the garage and save her. They've got her, and they've taken her to Tokyo for some reason. And then that's where the gears were. And so I stopped playing right around that point.
Oh. Okay.
I'm heading towards 2 sisters that I think it'll probably be the next boss fight kind of situation.
Linda?
No, neither of them were named Linda, but you do fight Lindas, you do fight Williamses.
Good.
You fight kind of some of the traditional enemies. They're all really easy though. It's like, okay, you know,
You're just that good.
in beat 'em ups, traditionally, if you stand over an enemy and mash the attack button, they are oftentimes smarter than that. Not all the time, but it will be a situation where they will interrupt that and prevent you from doing that dumb shit. This game does not. Most of the time. Like bosses, abobos.
Okay.
Like there are maybe 2 characters I encountered over those first 8 stages that were able to go like, no, stop doing that, to stop me from doing that. And
that's
all the fighting has been
traditional.
incredibly easy, and you have a lot of moves at your disposal that you have an anti-air basically that is a jumping, spinning headbutt. So you do this diagonal head first into the sky,
That sounds like an accident.
Yeah, it seems like that someone just looked at the sprites and said, "What can we get away with?" and made some moves. It's like the Mortal Kombat trilogy of Double Dragon games or something. But there's new animation in there as well. I don't mean to say that it's all just like this weird bootsy thing. It's just a series of really strange moves that make you very powerful against these enemies that are not a problem even with the basic moves. So I found that to be a little strange.
Okay.
The only time I was ever taking any damage is when they just had a vast numbers advantage and they were on either side of me, and I couldn't navigate to
Was
get away from
the
that.
elbow your go-to?
No, the elbow is no longer, because now it's you punch and then hit backwards. So it's like it's like there's a lot of like, okay, you need to hit neutral, then this, and some of the moves are because you have so many of them now, there are things to do. It's why they let you kind of map some things to specific buttons.
Oh, gotcha.
But no, like that uppercut is really good. That spin kick is really effective.
But the elbow's no longer OP, huh?
The elbow, I mean, it does damage. It takes people out, but the range on it, that was one of the moves that felt like maybe the range should be a little bit longer
Like the hitbox.
than it is. Yeah, the hitbox just wasn't getting it done, at least in my experience. But I don't know, man. It's got the dual mode. It's got A game and B game for 2-player. Like, they're making it, they're patterning it after the NES options and stuff too.
Like a Mega Man 9 kind of thing. Like they're really,
kinda.
Wow, bringing back that old
Yeah.
look, that old gameplay.
On one hand, if it
Not a
has
ton of
problems, it has
enhancements.
problems. And maybe, I assume that they'll take another look at it and maybe patch some stuff. Who knows? At the same time, the game's $7.
Yeah.
So I can only get so frustrated with it before I just go like, I mean, I don't know, this weird budget price thing. Like, Double Dragon deserves better, and hopefully this is just the thing they made while they decide to make a proper, full-on, crazy, very lavish, lush Double Dragon game.
If you want a real Double Dragon, you'll buy this to gauge support. No.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the play is on that front, but I was playing the PC version. I don't know how it is on console, if that version's any better or worse or anything
I don't know
like that.
either.
It's on PS4. But
New online multiplayer. I think I read something that there's share play available on the PS4 version, which would, I guess, could do
technically
two-player.
there's share play available on anything.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, that was a bullet point, I think, in their press release.
Yeah. No online functionality. There was one menu option that was just question marks. I assume you have to beat the game to open up whatever that is. But I don't actually know what that is. I think there might be some kind of survival mode, because there was an achievement for like get to the 10th floor.
Yay.
Which I don't know if that's a story thing or a separate mode or whatever. But yeah, I don't know.
Man.
It left me like with mixed feelings. Like I'm not 100% negative on it, but there was enough going on that it was just kind of like, this is a little too easy. It's a little too weird. Like, the getting to that platforming bit was just chewing through my lives.
Yeah.
Like, you get to there, like it displays the number of continues you have on the screen at all times. Like you have 5 credits.
Yep.
All right. You didn't have a lot to put in the UI. I get it. And then going through like 1 full credit and then some on some platforming bullshit was just like, A, classic Double Dragon, B, fucking there's no need to be devoted to that style of classic Double Dragon.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So yeah, that's...
I expected more, I guess.
Yeah. I believe Alex is going to take a look at that for the site.
Cool.
So we'll have a quick look at that up eventually. Maybe I'll check with him. Maybe I'll just take it off his hands if he's got other stuff going on.
Okay.
Maybe we could do it here. But yeah. All right. So let's talk about it. You guys have been going down some old game rabbit hole.
Actually, I have an update.
Yeah.
Peter Brown.
Yeah?
I got a shipping or a delivery notification saying that it is on the way, and I rerouted
what's on the way?
a FrameMeister.
What?
XRGB
What?
Mini.
An XRGB Mini.
Yeah.
I rerouted it to the office, so it should be here tomorrow.
Thank
Cool.
you, Drew.
You got it.
I will pay you for it next week.
You got it.
All right, so FrameMeister is like we have these Folsoms. We have these crazy scan converters, rack mount, crazy pro grade, insane things.
Yeah.
The FrameMeister, similar concept, but like way more affordable, right?
So it's principally a scaler,
Okay.
not a scan converter.
Okay.
There are some differences in there. But essentially, every TV has a scaler in it, but they're usually pretty cheap because it's meant for video,
Right.
for non-interactive stuff. So timing isn't important. So that's why when you try to play an NES on your HD TV, you're like, why are the inputs slow? Because you got a cheap-ass scaler in there. It's also the reason the games look like crap.
Mm-hmm.
So the XRGB Mini seeks to fix those problems at the princely sum of $350.
Which is still like a drop in the bucket compared to professional grade like scalers.
That is very true. Yes. Yeah. And these have been around for a while.
Yeah,
yeah.
no,
And
people have been using these things for
Totally.
decades.
Yeah,
Right.
I first got mine. Well, not mine. It was Game Informer's. I insisted that we buy one of these things like 5 years ago, and they were like, "What the fuck are you even talking about? What does this do?" I'm like, "No, we need this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the idea is that you do the scaling before it hits the TV.
Correct.
And then it doesn't, the TV just kind of natively deals with it, right?
Yes, and there are other things you can fiddle with in there. You can get pretty granular with the settings in terms of like how the image is scaled, its positioning on the screen. You can trick it to do scan lines if you want that look.
Nah, man. Nah.
Sometimes with the right
Fake
setting.
scan lines are just, that's the...
But they're subtle enough. Like, I'm with Peter. I think, they can add a little
There's a
bit.
fine line between egregious and like just right
Yeah.
to where it's not obtrusive. Because some pixelated games without those scan lines kind of look shitty.
Yeah. But I like that about it.
Yeah.
Like I was always on that quest to see every single filthy pixel. Just the cleanest, just give it to me raw.
Yeah.
And that's how I've always felt about those games.
But the great thing about them, which I think so many people seek them out, is not just to get their games on HDTV, but to get RGB video out of their consoles, which is uncompressed video signal. And a lot of systems support it out of the box. Not all.
Yeah.
And it can become a very expensive hobby because these cables are like the Japanese versions are wired differently than the ones that you really want to be flexible with the cables you're buying. They were never sold in America because we don't really have RGB standards here in terms of consumer television stuff.
I ain't got no SCART.
Right. So you got to jump on eBay and go to Retro Gaming Cables, I think is the name of the store, and invest like $20 to $50 depending on, what grade of cable you want per system. Which is an expensive hobby, but as I was explaining to you earlier, S-Video, in my experience recently, on a great monitor, is not that different from RGB and costs a fraction of the price.
Yeah. I have that's how my my CRT, my HD, my big Wega has S-Video in on it and stuff like that. It goes up to DVI, basically. There's no HDMI on it. And that's how I've been hooking up stuff primarily, and it still looks fine. I mean, composite looks like shit because it's composite. But I found that S-Video, hooking up that Duo and stuff like that to it, like the S connection is good enough.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, your monitor can obviously vary, even if you're using a kind of CRT. So I've got like I think it's a Toshiba consumer CRT, 20 inches at home, inputs up to component, and running S-Video on that looks great. But I'm also into PVMs like an idiot, which are professional video monitors, which these CRTs that used to cost thousands of dollars, made for color correction and high-end video editing. But they're also the best thing to play old video games on.
Yeah. These things don't even have speakers on them because
they have a mono speaker.
Okay.
Most of the time, or they have no speaker at all.
Yeah.
And S-Video on that looks incredible. But yeah, that's the whole other side of this coin.
Yeah.
I've got a lot going on with that with me at the moment.
Right. So you guys have both like seemingly independently got on this track of frame meisters and cables and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like Drew, are you gonna modify consoles? Are you gonna buy an RGB NES? Like what's the goal here?
I think my goal, I would love to have a it's funny, like when I was in Japan, I went to a lot of like old game shops, and I found myself gravitating to hardware. Like, all right, games, cool, but like I really want to see the hardware stuff. What do you got?
Yeah.
So I would really like to have like a like Randy Pitchford's office where he has all those consoles, but all hooked up to a frame meister. And I don't know that I would go the modding route initially. If like first, like I need to start somewhere, so I'm going to start with my Genesis first and get an RGB cable for that because that's easy. You just get a cable and plug it in, and then go into your frame meister like that, and then maybe just expand from there.
But which model of Genesis do you have? What sound hardware is in it? Does it sound good? Like there's the other end of this where, especially, I mean, with the Genesis in particular, It seems like what was it? I guess the original model is the one you want.
The
and
high definition.
Yeah.
It says it on the
high
circle.
definition on the
That's
front.
the one I have.
And, okay, all right, then you're probably
you're
okay.
good.
But it seems like every model after that just got progressively worse.
Yeah,
They
the
started-
2 and the 3.
Yeah.
And the,
Even I think late model ones sound different than
They
those
do.
original ones. Yeah.
They do.
So
Yeah. Most consoles you don't have to mod, right?
Right.
The NES is the one exception because that will only do up to composite natively.
And then I think it's like if you want to get really weird, like I saw people doing like RGB mods for like the 2600 and stuff like that.
I'm sure you can. Did you guys ever get that thing from Denny's, that Atari 2600?
No, what?
Yeah, what?
Okay, I got to show this to you later. So 3-4 years ago, this huge Pelican case arrives, and we're like, what the hell is this? From Denny's? Like, this doesn't make any sense. We open it up, and it's an Atari 2600. All right, and then there are a bunch of cartridges, but the labels, the games had been essentially reconfigured to be Denny's-themed classic Atari games. So the labels have like Denny's themed, but Atari grade art,
Right.
and the games are Atari grade games. So you put them in the system and you turn it on, and this thing has an HDMI port on it.
Fucking what?
So you put the games in and you turn it on, and it goes to like a weird modern day OS. And I'm like, okay, wait,
All
something
right.
really screwy going
like-
on here.
Yeah.
So I open it up. It is in fact a legit Atari, but it has been hijacked by like an Arduino or something.
Okay.
I haven't looked at it in a few years, so it might be a Pi, but it's been hijacked by something. So I've got an Atari 2600 with HDMI out,
Yeah.
but something needs to be messed with to get the signals into the thing that's piggybacking off of it to use HDMI.
Wait, so it's got Atari hardware in there?
Yeah, the original motherboard is still in there. It's got the
And
date on
hooked
the
up?
circuit
It's not
board.
just like it's not like you just turned it on with nothing in it and still just does this whatever Arduino crap.
Dude,
or-
I mean, it's in there. The ports work. The cartridge port works.
Sure.
It's all.
Oh, you can put like an Atari game in there?
No, it'll only work with at the moment because
okay.
of the hardware configuration. It'll only work with the Denny's games.
Okay.
You guys got to stream this.
yeah. What the, wait, you got to bring
Yeah.
this shit in because
It's in the office.
Okay,
I gotta
all
get-
right.
Can
Yeah.
you put the Denny's games in an Atari?
No, that's a good question, but I don't think so. Just because the way that the operating system works and these games look high res when you play it.
I was gonna say, like, we need to be dumping these. Like, what's going on? Like, preserve this fucking insanity.
And it just so happens to be a nice, besides the HDMI port being cut out the back, it's a very nice condition 2600 as well.
Huh.
So there's something interesting to be done with this machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
That's super weird.
Little tangent there.
Yeah.
So I was telling you about a story involving Usenet and another shady monitor.
Yeah.
So I
So
recently
you have two. Do you have two PVMs now?
I have two 14-inch PVMs, the Sony 14-2MU, which don't have high resolution screens. I think they only do up to 600 lines of vertical res, so it's still good for any retro stuff.
Yeah.
But there are others that'll go up to 1080. But I like them a lot. They're good. And one of them I picked up this weekend. I traded a guy on Craigslist a copy of Super Mario RPG, Journey to Silius, and a boxed copy of Arkista's Ring without the manual.
Yeah. All right.
Games I just been sitting in my closet, and I'm currently in the process of getting rid of stuff. So
Yeah.
it was just like a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
The monitor's in great shape. But like anything, when I start to go down this path, I obsessed for like a month or two.
Yeah.
So most of PVMs were used for video production, but they were also used for security monitors and for medical equipment. So there are different versions that apply to the medical field, but typically the ones for security are the same as the ones for video broadcast. So yesterday I was on Craigslist. I was like, what do I get if I just search for security monitor? Over in Castro Valley, someone's got a dusty pile of junk, and I see a security monitor, and I'm not really sure what it is. It doesn't look like any of the models I've seen before. And then next to it, I see this other monitor that I could tell is a Trinitron. It's got those little ovals of green,
Yeah, the
red,
three,
and blue.
yeah.
And
Yep.
I'm like, okay, but I don't recognize that monitor. So I asked the person, okay, can you send me pictures of this? Sends me a picture of the security monitor, and it's some Sylvania security thing where you actually use like Ethernet cables to send video. So fuck that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
The other one is a Sony monitor from 1985, a KV1311CR, which is a 15 kilohertz monitor that supports RGB, composite video input, and I believe RF as well. So the RGB that it supports, it has a digital port, and digital doesn't do anything for consoles.
Right.
It has an analog port. Now, before I saw the close-up photo and I got the model number, I was kind of looking around online, and I found a Trinitron monitor that looked very similar to this, and I don't remember the model number now, but it had a SCART connector on the side. And I was just like, this is incredible. And
Yeah,
I found all these images of people just directly connecting their PS1 to this thing,
Yep.
and it just looked beautiful, you know? And it's like a vintage Japanese monitor. It's not like a vintage, I mean, it was sold in America, but it looks like a Japanese product. So it's got that
Right.
extra bit of like just nice design quality to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So anyway, I get the model number, I look it up. What the hell do I find? But the RGB connection on this is not, on this model in particular, is not a SCART connector, but is a 34-pin parallel port, which was used, you might be familiar with it as the floppy connector, the floppy
Right, yeah.
IDE connector from inside an old PC.
Yeah. What the
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Okay.
you know, like anyone who knows how to use Google, I start to dig around the internet last night, and I am coming up short left and right. Like, I'm seeing people who are like, they have YouTube videos like an Apple II hooked up to it, an Amiga, and I'm like, that's all well and good, but that's not what I'm going for.
Right.
What the hell is this cable? So then I find out that the cable was made by the people manufacturing hardware that was supported for the monitor. So everything is proprietary. So if you have something that doesn't suit this monitor, that wasn't built for this monitor or ones like it,
Right.
you can't really find a cable for it.
Yeah.
So I find the schematics. And I'm like, okay, the pinouts on this thing, it is very possible to adapt a SCART connector to this. But then there are various requirements for voltages. So you got to wire capacitors into these things. And you have to ground everything to power. And like, you know, at that point, like I can solder a few things. I can't build a really high-end custom cable like that.
Yeah.
So I'm looking online for people that have done similar stuff. I found a guy who was like, oh, I figured out how to build one and I built one, and he puts up a photo of it. It is just like exposed wires with capacitors, like I imagined, and the you know, the parallel port. But he didn't. There's no other documentation. There's no this like about his process or
It's
anything
just like
that.
check out my sweet cable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm lost, and so eventually I end up on this forum on, I think it's like The Next Level is the name of the website or something like that. And a guy in 2002 is saying, "Hey, I have this monitor, KV1311CR. I've never seen this thing before," and he's going through the same steps I am.
Right.
And he said, "Okay, you guys won't believe this. This was 2002." He said, I found a guy on Usenet who was posting about this monitor back 10 years ago. So it was 1992.
Yeah.
And he said, lo and behold, I emailed the guy. His email address still works, and he got back to me. So 10 years after this Usenet post, a guy in 2002 was able to acquire the cable he needed to do RGB stuff,
Right.
essentially. So it was sort of like an adapter. But then that still leaves up, you know, you have to then have all these other cables. Anyway, so
he's adapting it to SCART
he's adapting it to SCART, I believe,
and then
yes.
just plugging whatever
And then-
SCART stuff into it instead
Yeah.
of building one cable per system. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Sensible.
So, you know, I'm left in a position where like, okay, this monitor is in Castro Valley. It's a 45-minute drive away. I don't know if it works. The
Right.
person selling it is clearly not someone who's excited to hook it up and show it to me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I got to figure out if this is worth my time. So could I build a cable? Yes, but I have 2 PVMs. What am I really doing here?
Yeah. What are you doing?
But you know, I friend of the show, John Carlo. Like, I like to share stuff with him. You know, like
Yeah.
if he can use a PVM, I'll give him one, and so that gives me an excuse to get another one, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not abandoning this idea. My only real course of action is to email this guy who wrote a post in 2002.
Uh-huh.
He emailed me back this morning, and he said, "Hey, yes, I have those cables, and I had a guy in Hawaii make me adapters for PC Engine, Saturn, blah blah blah." Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So this guy has all this stuff, and he says, truth be told, my monitor is on its last legs. Let me see if I can find these cables for you. So a story dating back to 1992.
Right.
Right.
I am now perhaps the final chapter, or I don't know.
No,
Maybe this will
another
continue.
10 years,
Yeah.
someone's going to find
No.
this show because it'll be like, there'll
Yeah.
be like some text transcription of it somewhere in
Yep.
the future, and they're going to go, wait a minute. No,
Yeah.
I'm listening to this guy talk about Usenet. What was Usenet?
So
Okay, all right. It's
I
full
am-
of porn. I don't know what's going on. Still full of porn, but all right, keep digging.
So yeah, I'm waiting to hear back from this guy, and I told the person on Craigslist, look, this thing baffles me. I'm waiting to hear back about a possible solution which would allow me to use it. Just stand by,
Yeah.
and they're not going to respond to me. They're going to wait until I say I'm coming to get this.
Right, of course. Yeah.
So we'll
and
see.
is the price on this monitor?
Free?
Oh, all right. Well, all right, well,
That's the
shit,
only
yeah,
reason I'm
all right.
investing any time in it. Because given the age of this in 1985, like the PVMs I own, the manufacture dates are between 99 and 2003. Same model, but Sony kept making them. Yeah, so I mean, this thing is super old. The phosphor burns out when you
Right.
run these things a long time, and I'm really taking a risk here. Even if I can just get these cables, and yes, maybe pass them along to someone else who wants them.
Right,
Sure, I'll
yeah,
do that. Like,
yeah.
I'm not going to pay a lot of money for them from the guy. I'll pay shipping. And
Sure.
maybe $20.
Yeah, yeah.
But
like for his trouble.
yeah, but if he gets back to me the next day or two and he's like, yes, I have them, sure, I'll sell them to you, then I'll probably drive for an hour and a half one day to get this monitor and bring it home.
Yeah.
And then wait to see what happens. I
And
don't need
then-
it, but
If you get all of it and it doesn't work, then you've got a TV that you can just break, which I don't
suppose.
know how many CRTs you've just destroyed, but let me tell you, it's fun.
I haven't destroyed any.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those
No.
suckers pop, man.
We
Oh,
took.
it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
tomorrow is Wego Wednesday, so
That's true. Yeah. No, I had a friend who had a couple of TVs that he was just getting rid of. This is a very long time ago, and we were like, "Well, what are we going to do with these things?" Like, "Well, we're going to break them." So we just drove to some quiet neighborhood at like 2 a.m. with a baseball bat and a pellet gun, and just set one out in the street, hit it with a bat. When that was fun, and then drove to some place like a mile away, set one out, shot it with the pellet gun until it broke. Said, "All right, cool," and then went and got something to eat or something. It was like that's.
Hey, good for gaming, good for target practice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's the fewer screens that are out there. They didn't work anymore, so we weren't
Yeah, right.
necessarily destroying anything that had any real use.
If I had real balls, I'd be doing what a lot of people on the internet do, which is they call up every local broadcasting company in their vicinity, like every local NBC station, every whatever, and just, be the jerk that bothers them for, "Oh, do you guys have this old equipment you don't need anymore?"
Right.
But people do that, and they score big time.
You should just. I mean, like KPIX is here in the city. That's the CBS affiliate. You should just go over there with your badge and just go like, "Hey, I'm here to pick up the stuff."
I asked facilities here about a year ago, and I was told like, yeah, we had those. Oh, we just threw them away. I was like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Because these things are, they're hard to find. I did get one off of eBay. The first one that I bought was the same model, and it showed up with just horrible. Basically, the colors were all screwed up. So.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. The CRT nightmare is, it's a nightmare, and I've got all these arcade machines in my house now, and I don't know what I'm doing.
It's only a nightmare until you're living the dream, Jeff.
No, it's So we bought our first year at California Extreme. We bought some machines.
Yeah.
We had a budget to because we had a bar in the office at the time, so we're like, well, we probably need some arcade machines for this bar.
Absolutely.
And so we bought a Street Fighter 2. There's a turbo board in it. And
Where's that now?
they're both at my house.
Okay.
And an NBA
All right.
Jam.
I'm coming over.
Do you want a Street Fighter 2 cabinet
I do actually.
with a monitor that doesn't work?
Oh. Somebody promised me a Street Fighter 2 arcade cabinet, I think in '92, and the monitor doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's still mine technically somewhere in Chicago.
So if you want
damn it.
this thing, I will freely. So my options at this point are dig this CRT out of it, find another one.
Oh, that's the rough.
You get a Strike Forge and hook it up to a flat panel. Or
Yes.
Forge Strike, whatever the hell it's
So
called.
that was the other
That's
thing I was
another
thinking was like
option.
I just go get an LCD,
Yeah.
or order one for $150 or whatever it is. It's not that much money, and put that in there. But then at that point, I've got a Street Fighter 2 arcade cabinet with an LCD in it,
Yeah.
and and also no one in my neighborhood to play Street Fighter 2 with.
Sure.
So it's like I'm building this thing, going like, okay, well now it works, and I'm still not going to use it.
Yeah.
And so the realization I came to with a lot of the stuff that I have right now is I should probably get rid of some of it. So I've got that NBA Jam cabinet, which now has a lot of stuff on top of it, but that still works. And we got that for nothing because of the cabinet was full of holes. Like it was just like, it had been drilled out and converted so many different times
gross.
that thing was, but it's a totally functional NBA Jam, and there was a TE board in there too.
Okay.
Nice.
So if you want to switch it over to Tournament Edition, you can do that. And so I've got that in my garage. Those were the two machines that were owned by the company at one point. That when we were selling the company, like it was like, okay, we need to clean out this office. Like I guess I'll take this shit home. And they've been sitting there ever since. And I've not really, other than firing it up to go like, okay, this still works. So I should probably get rid of that NBA Jam cabinet for the same reason that I don't need the Street Fighter, of just like playing NBA Jam by yourself. Better ways to do that don't involve me cleaning up my garage, and B, just it's not that much fun to begin with. So I should probably get rid of that. Then I've got a Missile Command machine that I got for free because it got fished out of the dump.
Damn.
And works. It just needed to be cleaned up. Like it wasn't working, so someone got rid of it, and someone saw it, and at the time knew that my dad was on the hunt for some weird shit like that. And so my dad just one day said like, all right, this Missile Command machine. I was like, fucking no way. What are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, no. He brought it over there. I was like, great. Thanks for bringing this over here. It totally does not work. And I spent a bunch of time cleaning it up and eventually like, okay, this thing totally works. Speakers a little blown
Sweet.
out. Monitor pretty good.
Okay.
Trackball needs to be serviced. It's got some rough spots in it, but also not that big of a fan of Missile Command. So
Sure.
like, am I going to be the guy to clean that up? Probably not. I should probably find someone who really likes Missile Command.
Yeah.
And get it to them for some small amount of money or no money, or
Pay it
like I
forward.
said, I have $0 in this
Keep
thing.
it in the family. Yeah.
So if someone was a big Missile Command fan, that'd be cool.
Should trade it into that crazy shop in Hayward.
Yeah.
Remember we went there?
Right.
That dude in that jumpsuit with his Einstein hair smoking cigarettes in the back of an arcade machine just throwing capacitors.
Yeah.
Rad.
He's like very alarmed to see other humans in his place. Like, get away. Yeah. I should see if he wants it. I've got a 4-player Warlords cocktail that I love very dearly.
good.
I don't play as much as I would like, but it's still awesome.
And cocktail cabs are just fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great machine.
Is that the one from The Office?
Yeah. So that one I bought with my money,
Okay.
and then just left at the office because that was where people were going to play it. And then when we started moving stuff around, at some point it just made sense to take it home because it wasn't getting a lot of use here.
Yeah.
But I would be open to bringing it back in if there was
That game's so good.
if there were people that were A, willing to play it,
Yeah.
and B, not beat the shit out of it.
Right here.
So maybe I should bring that back in at some point.
Keep it away from GameSpot.
Yeah. They'll just beat it to dirt.
Jesus.
Oh, well, I know. Like, there's the crew of people that play the Street Fighter V fake arcade,
Which
cabinet
I've heard you
hooked
guys
up over there.
love.
Oh yeah, the super not at all noisy joysticks.
I love the shit out of it. Frankly,
I love that people are playing it. Like honestly, like it does my heart good to see people.
Actually of clacking fucking buttons and stuff. I get into that. But
I can tell that they're sticks and not a panel. So
yeah.
to me, it sounds like people playing a console game at a fake arcade cabinet, and I just go, ugh, God, what is this? But then I've got my NFL Blitz 99 cabinet, which is in pristine shape. I'm the first owner of it. I uncrated it myself. Like that I want to keep. I won that in a tournament. I'm keeping that. It's awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
So GameSpot, a lot of GameSpot history is founded on Midway sending us an NFL Blitz cabinet at one point. And me and Ryan McDonald and Vince Brody, who was one of the founders of the site, getting so into that game that we probably played 10 games a day each. To the point where Vince and I wrote a strategy guide for Blitz. Like we were like, we got to get some content out of this because this is fucking ridiculous. So we made like a PDF of like, here's how to run these plays. And then
Does that still exist?
it's out there somewhere.
Okay.
That PDF.
Yeah.
I might have a copy. There was like a bunch of CDs that are just like, here's a bunch of like GameSpot game guide PDFs.
But that was like a standard for you guys. You
Yeah.
did that for a while, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I was hired to write guides. And I remember looking back on that and being like,
Yeah, no, this was one of the first ones we did, I think, as a PDF. And the idea was we would like sell it or something. I forget. This was before there was a paid, before GameSpot Complete existed. Anyway, so we got fucking deep into Blitz in an unhealthy, like in a very unhealthy way. And then Blitz 99 came out. They sent us the upgrade stuff for that. We converted it from Blitz to Blitz 99. But still only played it 2-player because 4 players, it ruins the purity of the game. 4 players is a bunch of slop. You have too many players on the field doing dumb shit to fuck up the plays.
Amateur hour.
It's totally garbage. And so we had played so much of that goddamn game, and then Midway was like, "We're having a tournament at E3. Come play Blitz 99." And I was like, "All right, cool. I got
training
I'm
my
gonna
whole life for
make a
this."
little time for that." And Ryan McDonald entered as well, beat Craig Kuyava, who was in the tournament. He would go on to work at Midway on the Blitz games. And I won that tournament, and then afterwards beat Sal DeVita at the game.
Nice.
And then I beat Termel at it later for money, which felt pretty good. Yeah.
And they were like, "You own this now. You have to
Yeah,
bring this
basically.
home."
They were like the prize for winning the tournament was the machine.
Fucking cool.
And so I was like, all right, that's fucking crazy. So that was my first arcade machine, was getting that cabinet, which I barely ever used because we were playing it here. Because we already had one here, and that was where all the people who played it were. So I have this machine that, like, it's gotten some use, but like my friends, we played it for about 3 months, and they were like, "Hey, yeah, I don't want to play this anymore because
Against
you're just
you,
too
yeah.
fucking savage." I'm like, all right, yeah, no, I am. You're right, I am. Not nearly as much as I was then, but I still am probably okay at that game, I guess.
Well, I'm sure.
So I really want to fix the sports station cabinet we have here that's Showtime and Blitz 2000.
Yeah, we should. Like, we can throw
it
out like
seems
a
like
hard
the
drive
power
in there.
supply might be bad or something like that.
We can
because
fix that.
it'll boot up and then die. Facilities has the keys, I asked, so we just
Okay.
need to crack that thing open and figure it out. 'cause
recap it.
Yeah, or whatever. It's the monitor's fine now.
There's probably the capacitors in the power supply.
Yeah. But I've got a bunch of power supplies that I could yank out of other stuff.
Oh
and
yeah,
just-
yeah. I
and
forget
just
those
try
are
out.
those are fairly
those
common,
just those are easy. We need to get that back together. I would love to play some more Blitz.
Yeah, great.
Around here.
I'll lose to you. I don't mind.
Yeah, totally. That game's so good.
So you got like a handful of arcade cabinets, like,
And I've
man.
got a couple of machines that I'm holding on to for somebody that
Sure.
I would love to get out of the house as
I
well.
mean, it's fucking hellacious to try and store those things. At some point, it's just like, oh shit, should I go all in, get a few
and I've
more,
got
and
a-
make a fucking arcade or something in my basement or whatever? But
if I had a basement,
you don't really have the space for it.
I also have a Smash TV that has Total Carnage. It's actually cool. It's got like a multi-jamma on the coin return button, so you push it and it changes boards. That I got off of Steve Lynn. I gave him my Earthshaker for it, and the monitor on that needed some work. And then I just got really busy and got married, all this other stuff, and so never connected up with Steve to actually see about getting that fixed.
I wonder if you're familiar with the story he told me about a guy in the city, I believe within San Francisco, who lived in an apartment building and had so many arcade machines that his landlord kicked him out because he was worried that this is going to break
weight
the
thing?
floor.
Yeah.
No,
Doesn't ring
I
a
had
bell.
not, but
No.
that totally, I believe it.
Oh, that's the one thing I can't bring myself to do is arcade machines.
It's fucking crazy. And then someone, God, I wish I had the name. Someone sent us like a box full of like 20 boards.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And I have some CPS2 stuff that is dying.
I would do Super Gun stuff, right?
Right.
I would do that all day because I've got one of those X arcade sticks with like the 6 buttons on a piece and the trackball and like the cool. I'll do that. But man, once you start dealing with like the rotten wood in some of those cabinets.
Yeah, that Missile Command was in surprisingly good shape for something that was clearly part of it was underwater for a while, and the bottom of it is not rotten, or not rotten enough to be a problem.
This wasn't from that like crazy cruise ship that was found.
No. This
I heard about that. Yeah.
This just came out of a
Someone
local dump.
found a cruise ship?
Yeah.
Someone found an abandoned cruise ship that was lined with arcade games on the inside.
And they were all just like they looked like they were melting.
Yep.
Some of them, and some of them were
some
good.
of them were still in pretty good shape.
Yeah, it's a pretty. There's a photo gallery out there. It's pretty amazing.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
similarly in Japan, there was a guy who was selling an arcade or something that used to be an arcade, and it is just dozens and dozens of machines just next to each other, all collecting dust, but all like the rare shit.
Still in good condition and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's that's been where so having this stuff and having it take up all this space is like it's cool. Like I feel
Absolutely,
it's having arcade machines is awesome. It's the thing I always wanted. Like as a kid, I was calling up arcades going like, how much would you sell me your 720 cabinet for? And they were like, $5,000, kid. And I'm like, all right, okay, good. All right, write that down. Go to my parents and go like, is this I don't know what $5,000 is. Can we get this? Can we get this in here? Birthday something? And they're like, fucking no, lunatic. So like that process of getting those machines has been like really amazing. It's that like kind of long time dream fulfilled.
Sure.
But now I've done it, and I've done it for a while, and I've seen what it's really like.
Yeah.
And it takes up a lot of space. And it's not that I necessarily have like other things I want to do with that space, but I'm looking at it more from the perspective of like there are people out there that would get a lot more out of these machines than I am.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's almost my duty to pare down to. I mean, realistically, I would probably pare down to Blitz, Warlords, and that Smash TV cabinet.
Yeah.
It sounds like a good number. Yeah.
And that's probably where I would keep it.
Yeah. Myself, it's always been a dream to own an actual like arcade cabinet as well, but it's just not a practical thing. So like for my 40th birthday, I want like a motorcycle to have that midlife crisis, or I want a fucking nice ass arcade cabinet. And I actually found like a really cool candy cab, which is like a sit-down
right. Yeah, I was gonna say
style.
you go that route.
That's
And
that's
like,
the one cab I would own too. I think.
There was one on Craigslist not too long ago for $500, and it was one of those, I think the old Taito ones, which did a lot of PlayStation stuff. Like it's got the fucking
The
marquee.
F3.
It's fucking amazing, and if I had the money for it, I would have.
So this is like a widescreen, like more modern
no,
kind of thing?
no,
Like
it's still
that
got
type
the
of place?
4x3,
Okay.
but like original PlayStation era. But yeah, it's got like the LED marquee and stuff, and it's fucking amazing. But I think I'm just gonna build something similar, because it's a practicality thing. I'm gonna go with an LED screen. But yeah, I mean that's why we're kind of talking about like FrameMeister stuff, is because how do you get these old ass consoles looking good, playing good on modern equipment that's cheap, So.
Yeah. And that's the arcade cabinet stuff is, obviously there are super guns and stuff like that that'll convert, but then when you start
got to
getting
buy boards and stuff.
right,
and,
when you start getting to the point where you're just like buying boards and putting them into a candy cab, then it's like, okay, well now we need to convert them because these monitors might be medium res. And a lot of stuff like that.
I mean, are you seeing these super guns coming out of China now that are essentially like built-in games?
No.
Oh, dude, you can go to Alibaba. You know that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
You can buy like 461 in one super guns.
Yeah.
Like, and they have most of the games you want. I think Aladdin is the name of like the brand, and it looks
Sounds right. Yeah.
They use like these plastic molds that look like They're made to look like PS4s.
Oh, awesome.
But in like bright yellow or
Yeah.
purple or something like that. But yeah, you can just hook up your your JAMA sticks and literally just plug it in and it'll work. And
They work great.
they happen to work.
Yeah.
I feel like if that's the route you're going to go, we've got a Raspberry Pi out there, and you can USB some sticks into that thing, and it's like kind of right there.
So this is an interesting segue if we're ready to maybe jump to the Analog NT Mini,
Yeah.
if that's all right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Actually, you know what? Why don't we take our next and
Sure.
final ad break here, and we'll come back and talk about this weird, beautiful NES thing that you've got on your desk. We'll be back in a sec. Valentine's Day is around the corner.
Is it?
Yes,
It always sneaks up on you.
it definitely does. And, one of the things you might be inclined to get for your significant other, maybe you want flowers.
Flowers are popular
Flowers are popular.
on Valentine's Day.
So it helps
I have heard.
to order them early and often.
Yeah.
And Pro Flowers has a deal here for just such a thing. You can get 1 dozen assorted roses with a free glass vase. I'm sorry, vase. It says vase here.
Now I
Yeah.
get what you're putting down.
For $19.99 plus shipping and handling.
Okay.
You can also upgrade for $9.99 more. You can get 2 dozen assorted roses with a free glass vase.
I'm sorry, what?
Vase.
Oh,
Vase.
okay. That's
you-
double the roses.
Yeah, that's double roses for half the 1.5x gets you 2x.
Got it.
If I were to math that out.
Sounds like math.
You can go to proflowers.com and use the code BOMB to get this deal.
Do it early.
Yeah,
I always every year I want to send my mom some flowers, and then I wait till like the day before, and it's like, nope,
yeah,
we're not doing that.
I suspect though, if you waited until pretty close to the day, Pro Flowers probably still would have your back on that stuff.
Yeah.
But you can set the delivery day you want. You can order right now and have it delivered on Valentine's Day, right to home or work. When her coworkers gush over her gift, you'll know you did Valentine's Day right.
Sure. I'm sold.
Yeah, in case you're sending them to a lady.
Yeah.
Pro Flowers bouquets are guaranteed to last 7 days or your money back. You can't beat the price and convenience. Pro Flowers takes care of the details. You just get to sit back and look awesome.
I could use some help there.
Well,
so.
I don't know. I think you're looking all right
That
now.
sounds generous.
But hey, if you want to look awesome,
I'll take it.
you can. That's a route you can go.
Okay.
The only way to get this 1 dozen assorted roses with a free glass vase offer starting at $19.99. Oh, I'm sorry, vase. Vase.
Okay.
Vase.
Stay on message.
Sorry. Go to proflowers.com and use the code BOMB. That's proflowers.com, and here's the key point. Click on the microphone.
Oh,
And type in the code BOMB.
got it.
Click on that mic, type in that bomb, get that deal. Don't wait.
Get them flowers.
Or get them flowers.
Yeah.
Order today. All right, we're back, and we are still talking about this crazy ass old. Well, I was gonna say this crazy ass old shit, but like this Analog NT Mini you've got is brand new.
Yeah. And by the way, thank you for letting us talk about this the entire time because holy shit, does it feel nice.
Finally,
there is
somebody
no one.
understands.
Actually, there's a new guy at GameSpot who is super into this sort of stuff. He's like my first ally in a long time on the team where I can nerd out and he's like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, totally.
no,
Yeah,
of
you're
course,
right.
Yeah.
Whew. All right. All right.
Let's have you on like once a month just to like decompress. Just like,
I'll be happier for it.
yeah.
So the Analog NT Mini is a follow-up to the Analog NT. Now this is from the company Analog, who made
GUE, right?
Yes, and they are probably better known for making their old Neo Geos. They would consoleize an arcade Neo Geo board,
Yeah.
and do it in hardwood, and then they got into like exotic woods, which was kind of cool for some people. I'm not paying $3,000, $2,000, whatever the price was.
No way. No way.
But it shows their commitment to doing really high-end work, and I never saw the Analog NT, the original version of what is essentially a a high def NES/Famicom hybrid. But I have the NT Mini now, which is 20% smaller. And there's another key difference where the old one uses repurposed processors from Famicom boards.
Oh, okay.
This uses an FPGA.
Oh.
Maybe it's FGPA. I think it's FPGA.
Floating point gate array, I think is what
Yes.
FPGA.
Yes. And these are
A
basically
fully programmable gate array, not even floating point.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway,
No, that makes a lot
FPGA.
more sense. And essentially what it does is it allows for a very near perfect hardware emulation.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy they have working on this has quote unquote put about 5,000 hours into this FPGA alone, but it's not lip service. Like this guy, I forget his name, which is really shitty of me, but he is someone who is like has been involved in the community for over a decade.
Yeah,
I mean,
the FPGA scene is really interesting because there are people out there like, oh, here's the Amiga. And if you just have this specific, like this number of gates on an FPGA, it will, you can do it. Like it's weird.
And so the guy in charge of it for this is the authority on FPGA for NES stuff and beyond, not just NES, but definitely the one guy you want doing this.
So I'm sorry, it is a software-based thing?
It is a hardware-based hardware emulation solution.
Okay, so you set it up so that the hardware, there are physical gates that then replicate the
ones and
chips?
zeros of the chips,
Okay,
more or less.
all right.
So it's
The clock speeds, the way, like all the things that go into defining why one chip differs from another.
Okay,
This thing
it
is
can
respo-
replicate.
It can replicate that. It's
Okay,
not
wow.
like recompiling data. It is literally trying to replicate.
And it's not interpreting it, it is
Right.
in effect the same.
so this was some of the technology that was supposed to be at the root of that ColecoVision, that chameleon
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
And part of why that whole fiasco was the fiasco it was because there was a lot of talk early on about what kind of FPGA they were going to put in originally and what sort of capabilities it would have. That when they went from like the retro VGS to the Coleco Chameleon, it was like, okay, does this still have that? Or are you stripping it out? Or, there was a lot of questions. That was where one of the first questions about that whole mess.
Okay.
Right.
Not to say that it is not a legitimate technology, obviously.
Right.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good. Good context. So the Mini uses that, right? It's not legit NES hardware, but it is legit NES hardware for all intents and purposes, like really when you get down to it. Because I play a lot of those games otherwise on various different platforms and stuff. Playing this thing, I don't notice a difference, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And a difference in terms of what the pixels look like, how things move and feel and sound, most importantly. So that's kind of getting that out of the way because this isn't legit hardware, even though I consider it to be. So what it is then is a really high quality, like aluminum custom chassis system that accepts both NES and Famicom games and will output them to HDMI. It'll also output them to any analog signal you want, pretty much, which includes composite S-video component and RGB. So for someone like myself who wants to use something like an XRGB Mini to play on an HDTV, but also wants his PVM around, this is the best fucking solution out there because otherwise what you're left doing is spending $150 per Nintendo system to mod them for HD output. You could also pick up the AVS, which you've been talking to me about.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
When Steve was in the office, I
Yeah.
actually dropped one of those off at my desk. Thank you very much for that. And I've been fooling around with that. It's the same basic concept. I can't tell you too much about the innards because I don't know, but it is an NES port, a Famicom port.
Yep.
And it has built-in, front end for like online high scores or something. You can, you kind of do some stuff around that. Built-in Game Genie code database and stuff like that.
That is sexy. Oh.
And it'll spit out HDMI. It's got an HDMI port on the back. Spits out 720.
Right. Jason, if you think that is sexy, you have to see. Did you see this thing the other day when I brought it over?
I
Mini?
think so. Yeah. It felt very nice.
I think the AVS is more sexy. There's no hope for you.
Okay. we'll have a comparison, like a
should.
sexy
Yeah.
comparison
Sex off.
someday.
Yeah. So right, the Mini will do 60, 1080 60, and all manner of stuff. But really, for me, having the analog option is what is just the key differentiator.
Totally.
I love all the other stuff, but having that is just like this is the final. I don't need to think about NES hardware beyond this.
Right.
Everything that I want is accounted for in this one.
You could hook a disk system up to it.
You
if
can
you
hook a
wanted
disk
to.
system up to it. Yes.
Yeah. It'll work with more or less whatever you plug into it.
Absolutely. And so the earlier systems had some problems with EverDrive carts, for example. They work with this no problem.
Okay.
Because the hardware, there's no mysterious we don't know how to account for something we don't have control over.
Right.
They have control over everything.
Yeah.
Will it play Denny's carts? No. Okay.
I don't think so.
All right.
What else can I say? It's been really nice. It comes with one of those 8-bit wireless NES controllers. They're like Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Those feel really good, actually.
Yeah, some of them do. Some of them.
The 8-bit specifically?
Mhm.
Yeah? Well, I like it anyway.
Okay.
But with the receiver that it sends you, you can also use the Super Famicom styled or Super Nintendo styled wireless controller. So I've been doing that.
Mhm.
So I've got a great flexible NES that looks amazing. I
Yeah.
can add scanlines to it if I want to. I can. Oh, it's got a soundtrack feature. You can download
NSF
compositions, put
Yeah.
them on an SD card, and play through this real hardware through your TV
Yeah.
with a visualizer for every wave channel.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I'm into that.
I've been using stuff like M1 and there's like the VGM file format that people have been like, okay, here's every song from Super Hang On, the arcade version. I'm like, okay, let's just hang out and listen to Super Hang On for a while.
Yeah.
I've been doing that lately, and I'm not sure why. It just kind of like happened, and suddenly I'm like, no, we need to listen to all of the Ridge Racer soundtracks.
Because you like to feel good, man.
And I've got the CDs. I bought those CD soundtracks years ago, but what if I could just emulate it out of the chips? What if it was just the chips
Sounds like
simulated, dump into the yeah, no, that's
Super
yeah,
Hang
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, so the ABS is what, $100?
Yeah, something
120?
yeah, somewhere around there.
This thing is $450, $500 if you want it in black.
Yeah.
It's asking a lot, but if like me, you were already considering going down the route of converting old systems
Right.
and that's kind of another key thing too, is like old systems, right? I mean, this hardware is brand new, it's reliable.
Yep.
I'm not dealing with anything that might suffer from bit rot or whatever. Like, I feel like I'm good to go, and I don't want to look back.
Yeah, my original NES still works though. I mean, that thing still still
I know.
plays.
I mean, I've got my Sharp Twin. I'm not going to get rid of that.
Right,
Like, I still
yeah.
have these systems that I love, but from a practicality standpoint, like, I can be as flexible as I want to be, as fast as I want to be with this thing.
And you want to talk about practicality? Just get the hardware out of the way completely.
Yeah.
You want to talk about practical? Just dump your carts and put them in a box. Never think about it again. All right.
Not for me.
Said my piece. All right, why don't we move on to some video game news?
Yeah.
Some things have actually happened in current video games here, including the Benz is back.
Is he?
Leslie Benzies.
Somebody got him.
What's
has
getting
resurfaced.
closed?
It's Leslie Benzies, of course, of Rockstar North, of Grand Theft Auto fame. Still, I believe that lawsuit is still ongoing.
He's the closer, right?
Yeah. He was the guy that they needed the Benz.
Yep.
And so the Benz has gone out on his own.
Really?
And he is starting up a studio with a couple of other ex-Rockstar North people. They are working on something that is currently called Everywhere. And they are using the Amazon Lumberyard engine, that Crytek-based thing.
I've heard some good stuff about that.
Yeah. They're going to be in Edinburgh, Scotland. They've got a studio in LA, and they've got another studio opening TBA, I guess. And they have not really talked too much about what Everywhere is. There's some interviews around there. Polygon in an interview, a couple other places, kind of saying like, yes, this is a video game. Like, we're not just making some big weird Everywhere simulator. But they
Second
are,
Life 2.
Yeah, but they are kind of the name, I think, does still sound kind of indicative of what they're shooting for in terms of this potentially wide multiplayer environment with a lot of different options and stuff like that.
That's always
hard
scary.
to say. You know, they're also out there like small teaming it, prototyping stuff, doing all this stuff, and we'll see where they get to. But you know, hey, that's in case you were wondering where the Benz was. He's gonna do it for himself.
They're going to create an
gonna start
engine,
their own studio.
right? I mean, based off of somebody else's engine.
Yeah,
And then sell it to people. And then he's going to go into all of their studios and finish their projects.
that's right. He's
Yeah.
going to be the closer for his own game, and
Yep.
then sell his own game to all the other studios and close those games too.
He's got this on the lock, man.
That's smart. No. Yeah, so we wish him the best. That'd be cool. Animal Crossing Mobile has been delayed. Nintendo Financial Reports hit. That was one of the bits out of that, delayed into next fiscal year, which could be as early as April, actually. So maybe not that far.
What's the
off.
story on Fire Emblem? When is that?
That's out this week.
This
second?
week.
That's out.
There we go.
The second or first.
Wow,
yeah.
really?
Yeah,
Jeez.
Yeah.
All right.
yeah. So that's just about here.
I'm gonna give that a shot.
Yeah, I don't know.
4-player parties sounds a little small.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know.
My phone's
I've never
kinda
been a
small. Actually, my
big
phone's
Fire
pretty big.
Emblem guy. So
I like me some tactical turn-based
So
stuff.
maybe a smaller scope tactical might work for me, but I'm not necessarily. I don't know.
Mhm.
I'll give it a look. I'm still smarting after Super Mario Run.
Sorry.
Wait. I'm not alone?
No, that game's That's a bad game. That's a bad product.
Okay.
That is a low quality item.
I want
Cool.
nothing to do with that.
that is an unfortunate thing.
This is a safe place, Peter.
It feels like it.
It's just a Super Mario Run. I am curious to see what Animal Crossing Mobile is, but also this kind of came with a lot of the stuff of, hey, this sure really underscores the fact that Nintendo is really relying on the Switch for the next kind of bit of time here for the next fiscal year. A lot of their revenue is kind of tied up in a lot of that stuff. Their stock took a pretty decent hit coming out of this announcement and some of the other financial stuff around it. Targets they hit, targets they missed, and some of that stuff. So
they missed that Monster Hunter target.
I believe I saw someone saying that their stock was trading at the lowest level since the Virtual Boy days.
Whoa.
Damn, really?
Which it's not really.
I have no idea what those numbers are, but it's got to be low.
Yeah, it's not really an apples to apples. You can't really necessarily.
Well, sure, inflation and stuff, but
Yeah.
surprising.
And it's a different market, and where the yen is at, and all this other stuff. A lot of factors, but at the same time,
It's still indicative of something.
yeah, Nintendo kind of needs the Switch to hit in a way bigger than certainly the Wii U did. The implication, I think, was that the 3DS was really starting to sputter out, even if they had strong holiday sales. Like it just wasn't there the way that maybe it needed to be.
And today they officially announced that they're done producing Wii U's in Japan.
Right. Yeah. Which
That's
it
finally
seemed like
happened. It was
that had-
rumored a few months ago.
Yeah,
but now it's
yeah.
official.
It's one of those things where they announce it and you're like, I thought this happened already. What are we? Okay, all right, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, the Switch is out real soon now. I feel like we should be getting one in here relatively soonish. I don't know. And start picking that thing apart and seeing what's up. Hook it up to some PVM, see what happens.
My
Nothing.
mind is racing.
Yeah, the answer is probably nothing.
I don't know, man. Now I'm going to try.
4x3 screen. Can you?
I'll make it happen.
Yeah, well, we'll figure it out. Crack that thing open. Square Enix and Marvel have announced a deal to produce games based on Marvel properties.
Yeah, what the hell's going on?
Crystal Dynamics is working on something called the Avengers Project.
Okay.
And it'll be an Avengers game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like an RPG, like a Kingdom Hearts kind of situation?
I don't know if they necessarily got to, it'll be the Kingdom Hearts. It'll
Yeah.
absolutely be, it's just the next Kingdom Hearts.
Okay.
No, they
3.4.
So it'll be the bouncer
drop.
crossed with Avengers.
Finally, yeah, the bouncer is back.
Good.
I was holding a copy of the bouncer about a week and a half ago, and
Did it singe your hands?
yeah, it felt bad. It felt
Smell of
like
sulfur. Yeah.
it felt like it felt like them not making good on a very cool looking thing. Remember, everyone got fooled by the bouncer.
Oh, yeah.
They showed all those screenshots. You're like, oh fuck,
Yeah.
I can't wait for the bouncer to come out. Then like those review copies showed up. We put it in. I think we imported it before we got a review, and it just went like, oh, this is fucking garbage. Well, let's put in driving emotion type S. That'll be nope. So let's see. There's some other details to this. Eurogamer reporting that a Deus Ex sequel is likely dead. Potentially as a result of this, though also potentially as a result of the reception of the last Deus Ex. I don't know. I didn't dislike that game, but I feel like I only see people talking shit about Deus Ex now. Everyone seemed to have turned on it pretty hard. Meanwhile, Deus Ex Breach, that weird VR mission style mode that was in that last Deus Ex game,
right. Yeah,
they spun that out as a free thing.
Standalone,
and it's on
yeah.
Steam as a standalone thing.
Huh.
And there still aren't any microtransactions in it from what I saw.
Just a free thing.
Like it's got a bunch of the hooks for a paid service. I imagine they roll it in at some point because obviously the core game had some stuff around, selling Praxis points and all that other shit. But they launched that thing without it, which is weird. That mode, not that great. But hey. And let's see. The other part of that was that Eidos Montreal was said to be working on Shadow of the Tomb Raider and a Guardians of the Galaxy game. Also out of some of those same reports out of Eurogamer and Kotaku. I was kind of like taken aback by this Marvel deal. It seemed like Marvel and a lot of licensed games in general had just kind of fled to mobile because that was where the intersection of mainstream consumers and licensed properties maybe belonged or maybe had their greatest chance for success.
Certainly, yeah. I think there's room in the market for some consolized Marvel games.
Yeah,
right now,
yeah.
so.
I mean, those are obviously like those characters are huge and popular, and they are they have the types of powers and moves that you would expect from a video game protagonist.
Easy light.
So there's no reason not
Laser
to.
eye blast someone.
Yeah. So I guess it makes sense. Eidos Montreal been doing some pretty good work, so
Yeah, exactly.
kind of interested to see what they do with Guardians and Crystal D. Obviously, they've done. They did that
The Tomb Raider stuff.
that Samurai Showdown port for 3DO. So
Yeah, yeah.
so that's pretty good. Xbox One Snap is being ripped out of the Xbox One.
What?
Cool.
Yeah.
What?
No,
Dump
that's
it.
different Snap.
Oh,
You can't-
sorry.
That's the Switch.
Oh,
You
that was
can't.
good.
That's that I feel like so Microsoft will have like they will like kind of occasionally come into town and be like, oh, just hang out, chat. What do you think about stuff?
Yeah.
And every single time they ask for feedback, my first thing is like, Snap is worthless. Snap is terrible. It is bad, and the dashboard is just slow and bad. So Mike Ibarra on Twitter kind of said that they're looking to they're yanking out Snap and looking to replace it to improve multitasking, reduce memory use, improve overall speed, and free up resources for bigger things. I don't know if that update is in the preview program right now, but it is due out over the next few months. That's great. Snap seemed like a good idea on paper that was only cool if you were trying to watch TV and do a
If
thing.
you're doing like picture-in-picture kind of stuff, gaming and watching TV
Yeah.
at the same time, I
If you
don't
love
really
to
know.
Skype while playing video games.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like-
they had some of the party stuff built into that, correct? Like that's how parties kind of work.
Parties,
is-
yeah, parties were kind of based. I think they
So I
eventually
wonder-
switched some of that stuff out.
Okay.
But yeah, and then just the speed of the dashboard has been a thorn in their side, and you know,
Sure.
it seems like a lot of that stuff was based on some decisions they made out of the gate around Snap, around the other multimedia stuff they wanted to do. So I'm sure it is no fucking small task what they are trying to do here. Hopefully, they come out the other end of that in the right spot.
Sure.
Because
I think they've been making steady improvements to that
I agree.
interface.
yeah,
And,
but it is still unreliable. There are still times when I hit like my games and apps,
It's not
and
great.
it just sits
Yeah,
there and then
yeah.
says, "Sorry, this took too long."
oh, really?
And like, oh,
You got too much shit, Jeff.
I did put a 2 terabyte drive in, like,
That'll
plug
do
it
it.
in and then try to download every single thing on my account.
This is
So I
your
do have
fault.
like over 300 things installed.
It's your fault. It's not theirs.
I recognize I'm an edge case, but still,
Sure.
holy shit, that thing. Even you yank that drive out, it still does not perform that much better.
Yeah.
So
It's
that's
been hit or miss for me. I have good moments.
yeah. So I mean, good that they are. I mean, obviously they've been aware of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you would be crazy not to be aware of it. So it's good that they are able to do that. Like I said, I bet that's a ton of fucking work,
Mm-hmm.
re-engineering very low level things in that system to get it where it needs to be. But hopefully they get there. You know, they're not just gonna like wait for Scorpio and just like power will solve this problem.
No. Yeah, the Snap stuff was just like super confusing. Anyway, when you would have
Yeah.
something like accidentally snapped,
Right.
it was such a pain
And
in
there
the
was
ass.
stuff like,
It's like,
you know,
what
like-
the fuck? It just go away. Just
You can
unsnap.
only view achievement lists as part of a Snap view. So if you're trying to look at achievements from the dashboard, it would just like launch something at random, like whatever the last
Yeah.
thing you had running.
Oh,
as
God,
a
that
full
was the
screen thing. It would go
worst.
like, here, check out the store.
wanna
We're gonna
s-
load this game so you can look at achievements. Like it was just like a bunch of bad
like I'm trying to exit out and hit B, and all of a sudden,
yeah,
it would
like
bring
the,
up
the breadcrumb
something
trail
else. Yeah.
as you're hitting B would
Yep.
sometimes launch games.
Yep.
Like there's just a lot of weird stuff about that.
I want to say
thing.
they fixed that too.
Yeah,
recently.
I think they did too. But you know, it's been a long list over the years of the interface on that thing. So
Sure enough.
hopefully they'll get it where it needs to be. Apocalypse Now video game
What?
coming out in 2020.
Did we just talk about this recently?
On
We were
UPF,
talking
I
about
think.
on UPF.
Yeah.
Somebody wrote in and said like, what are some unicorn games that games that are rather like IPs, movies, or whatever that probably wouldn't make a translation to video games.
So this is like we had Rory and they had talked about this as of that Friday show, and yeah, some X or some Obsidian people
Okay.
working on this in some form. It's a crowdfunding thing. They're trying to get funding for it, but Francis Ford Coppola is on board and kind of out there. Like they're trying to make an RPG that will let you deviate from the plot and all this other stuff.
I've also heard Walking Simulator on official channels.
Really?
Yeah. But in the RPG
Walking
stuff
through the
isn't even
jungle,
consistent. It's like I've
wading
heard
through
like
the
RPG
swamps.
like
Yeah.
versus deep RPG. It's like you can't
Right,
do
like
both.
what is this thing?
Yeah, am I gonna grind in Vietnam? Like what is
Oh yes,
Some
you
people
will.
did.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, that sounds weird, which is exactly what I would want from an Apocalypse Now video.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like kind of like
Yeah.
like if
What's
you know,
Coppola doing on it though?
he's
Making
like-
money?
Yeah, exactly. He's saying yes. They pitched me on this thing, and I said sure, use my name. Which presumably said the same thing about those Godfather games, which I think he later would go on to talk shit about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Not much to say about that other than they're doing it.
This is a Kickstarter kind of thing. Has it been funded?
I
or-
don't believe it's been funded yet, but it's out there. It's floating around. It's a weird,
Still weird.
it's a fucking weird thing. But yeah, you're right, Drew. That's kind of what you would want an Apocalypse Now thing to be. It should be
Make it weird.
a really weird thing. Or you could just go play Spec Ops: The Line.
Yeah. Closest thing, I think, so
Closest
far.
thing, yeah. I had a note in here about the Oculus ZeniMax case because that went to a jury, I believe, as of the beginning of this week.
Wow.
But no outcome that I have seen yet. Towards the end of that, ZeniMax doubled the amount of money it was looking for to $4 billion.
That's a lot of
That
dollars.
seems fair.
Alleging copyright violation involving John Carmack and his work with Palmer Luckey in the early days of Oculus. I suppose I should say at this point that the head of CBS sits on the board of ZeniMax as a disclosure there.
Did you pay attention to the case as it was going on?
I tried to. I read some bits and pieces along the way that it just, like a lot of ZeniMax alleging that there was no way that Palmer Luckey could have come up with that stuff on his own, and a lot of stuff along those lines.
There was a article I was reading where the issue of shaders came up, and Carmack was on the stand, and the judge said something along the lines of, "What's a shader?"
Fuck.
And I just rubbed my hands like, "All right, go into it, Carmack. Come on."
It's like
Well,
I'm 6
surprised-
hours later.
I'm
glad you
surprised it's
asked.
wrapping right now,
Right.
given
Yeah, he's probably still,
yeah.
like, I didn't say enough about the shader stuff. Damn it. I got more to say. I'm going to update my plan file with more stuff about these shaders in case the judge wants to read it. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. That we should hear a judgment in that, I imagine, relatively soonish. Or maybe the jury is just doing that Pauly Shore thing and they want to just extend it out as far as possible to get as much money as they can.
Sounds like a good gig. Yeah.
Avalanche Software is reopening. This is the
good.
Utah-based
Yeah.
developers that were shut down as part of the Disney
Infinity.
Infinity closure, spin-off, layoff, shutdown stuff.
These are not the Just Cause guys, right?
These are not the Just Cause guys. Yeah, this is Avalanche Software. And so they are reopening. They are being backed by Warner Brothers,
Okay.
reopening under the name Avalanche Software. And they're working on a Cars 3 game for Disney.
Fantastic.
That I guess was in development prior to the company being shut down. So it sounds like that they're keeping a lot of the talent together. I want to say that some of the other senior staff went off and started a studio that's part of Cast AR. That's like an augmented reality thing.
Okay.
I want to say that was a story a couple of months ago. Anyway, John Blackburn, who was one of the faces of Disney Infinity, is there at the new / old Avalanche, and they're doing this Cars game.
Gotta pay the bills somehow.
Yeah, no,
I guess.
totally.
I mean,
That was
yeah.
like 300 people that were out of a job, so cool. Hopefully most of them were able to land, if not back into this thing, then to find something else.
yeah. And Infinity was good stuff, especially when they brought in additional teams to work on specific mechanics, like some of the racing or fighting and stuff. But I think the core stuff was really good too.
Yeah, it was cool. Phil Spencer got out there and said that the Phantom Dust re-release is due out before E3.
I didn't know that they were re-releasing it.
Yeah.
That was news to me when I saw that.
So this is, re-release is a weird word. I guess I wrote that. That's not necessarily
Sure. So I
how they will
understand
frame it.
it's not a port. They're sort of taking importing elements into a
Like
new
it's
presentation.
like they're using some of the assets.
Right, but it's going to be
Really?
16:9. There's going to be online multiplayer, that kind of stuff.
It's Play Anywhere. So
Oh,
that
right.
will be
So,
coming
yeah,
to PC.
PC. Yeah.
I'm confused. Yeah, all right. So they had initially pitched like
They
a
announced this
new
other thing, and there was a
Phantom
studio
Dust.
working on it, and
Yes.
then there was all the stories about that studio going like,
Yeah.
this relationship was A, super weird,
Yep.
and B, we're totally off that game. It seems like it's dead.
Right.
And then
Okay.
you had Microsoft going like, totally not dead.
Okay.
But then not really saying much else, and so
Yeah,
they've
and
kind of gotten
that's
out there
where
and
It was left in
yeah,
my
it
head.
seems like the new information here, at least new to me,
Uh-huh.
was that it was going to be reusing assets and that it's Play Anywhere. So yeah, this seems like that they are. That's why I say re-release, because it seems like they're just going to take the assets, put it into a more modern engine, and make it something that can run on PC.
Okay. That's a weird ass game, by the way.
Yeah,
I don't know that it's that great.
I mean, the people that love it super fucking love it, and that's cool. It's taken on a larger life as a result of all the rumors and stuff swirling around it than it might deserve.
Did you?
And people that really like Phantom Dust are right now like saying, "Fuck you, man!" This game's, and I was like, "All right, no, I get that people like Phantom Dust, but."
Did you happen to catch the prices when they announced it?
Oh no! Did they actually announce price?
No. When they announced the remake back at E3,
Oh,
I was like, "Do I own a copy of Phantom Dust? Maybe I should buy one." You know, I've been looking at it for a while.
Oh, gotcha.
And it was like upwards of like $80, $90 on Amazon because people were just buying it. They were like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Phantom, I should have this. This looks
Right.
great."
yeah, that's that
$90
always
bucks.
happens. That's
I know, it's ridiculous. I just didn't
Windjammer
expect
cart
it for
prices
that.
went up. It's just
Yeah.
idiots on the internet talk about a game and then suddenly it gets hard to find. It's a problem.
All right, so this new one, do we have release or anything?
It due
But
before
by-
E3.
due
so
before
that's
E3.
June.
Okay.
So it could be out tomorrow. It could be out in May. I don't know. Yeah,
Could be out right now.
It might be. Maybe it's out now. Who knows? We should check.
It's not. I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know when they're going to talk more about it.
Cool.
It might just be something they drop because the people who want Phantom Dust. They don't need to. I don't know that marketing that game and doing a bunch of stuff around it. Well, whatever. Like I think the people that want to find that game will find that game. You know, the people that need a game like that will definitely find it, regardless, because word of mouth will probably carry it.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Let's see. A couple more quick news bits here. This one just got sent to me over and over again. I wasn't going to take it, but people just stop. Daniel Lingen, who's a senior community dude at EA. I think he worked for Destructoid for a while.
Name sounds familiar.
Anyway, he got on Twitter and posted #Skate4. He works for EA. People started running off at that and going like, "Oh shit, someone who works for EA said Skate4.
What are you doing?
He's been posting #Skate4 to Facebook as a joke for months and months and months and stuff. So I
This isn't a new
happen
thing.
to know that that this might not mean much of anything.
But it could.
But it could. And also, he works in the community department, which means he would probably be one of the guys on the front lines of seeing every single post they post to Instagram getting taken over with this Skate4 hashtag. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily read too much into it. That said, I think they will cave and make a Skate4.
You think so?
Yeah.
This isn't just a cheap pop.
It
It might be a cheap pop.
This might be. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that they will at least try in the same way that they eventually made a Mirror's Edge sequel. I think that they will eventually come together to make a new skate game.
Well, Tony Hawk's making a new skateboarding game
Right.
without Activision.
Without Activision. And he didn't say who he was making it with, but said that they seemed like the right people, which I don't know that I trust Tony Hawk's judgment as to who the right
Anymore.
people are, because he said similar things about Pro Skater 5.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Or he's learned his lesson. He
Or
knows.
hey,
Yeah.
one would hope. One would hope. But yeah, you can't read into anything of that dude saying that on Twitter. It's not. You can't really take anything out of that, I think. But that said, I think that
the hashtag support is there, man.
it reached
Like,
a fever pitch in a way that, like, you saw them put Skate 3 onto backwards compatibility for the Xbox One.
True.
Like, clearly they know that there is some demand there. They're
They've
probably
seen the
trying to
hashtags.
gauge demand and see if they can match a budget up with that anticipated demand. And if those things meet in a positive sense, they would greenlight a game. If it doesn't, if they run the numbers and go like, we aren't likely to make our money back, or this game would be total shit if we cut it down low enough that it would have to be to make money, then it won't. But I suspect that they will find a way to make that happen. And today is Brad Muir's birthday.
happy birthday,
Happy birthday
Muir.
to Brad Muir. All right, that's it for news. Why don't we get into some emails?
Yeah? Did people send us stuff?
Yeah.
Questions?
People send us
Comments?
questions to bombcast@giantbomb.com. And then I culled through that box and
I'm sorry.
yanked out a bunch of them. And
All gems, I'm sure.
I want to say that we've covered some of this stuff already on this show.
Fuck it.
But let's look here. All right. Eric in Atlanta says, what can you guys tell
up,
me
ATL?
about, what can you guys tell me about Nintendo and Sega fan reproduction carts? It seems like something Jeff might know a thing or two. I figure the business of buying them might be something of a legal and moral gray area, considering you're buying a pirated copy of the game. But the ones I've been looking at aren't merely just your run-of-the-mill bootleg copy of Chrono Trigger. They're English translations of games that never saw a proper English release. I also found some outright crazy things like a SNES Fire Emblem cart for sale that had all 3 Fire Emblem games with the English patch. I'm tempted to buy it as a big Fire Emblem fan, but the thing is pretty pricey at $85. I also figure the people who did the translations aren't seeing a dime of that money.
Sure.
I figure the best way to go here is to get the repro, research who did the patch, and donate directly to the patch makers if possible. Just want to get your thoughts on the Wild West of fan repro carts before I buy something that's cheap and overpriced or potentially really neat. So I feel like
I have a few.
You have sent me links to all of these PC Engine things and all this other stuff that you've picked up a few. What do you have in your?
I don't have much.
Yeah.
So I have because I'm not going to pay $200 for a cart of Earthbound. The game isn't that special to me.
Yeah.
But I did buy a repro cart that had some of the edited stuff back into it. So it's sort of like the real complete version of Mother 2 with an English translation. So I have that on a cart. What is that game in Japan? Like that really expensive shooter made by the guy who did Turrican.
Oh,
yeah, that one.
Yes.
So there was a version that was being made for Western release that never actually got produced, but they found the ROMs of the prototype, and then someone released that under the name that it was going to. So I have that. I don't have that many. It's kind of like a rare exception. The PC Engine thing is weird to me because while I've seen the flash carts for PC Engine, I've never seen like repros, which aren't that far removed in terms of what they incorporate.
Right.
But this place is like, we'll print labels on these things and we will give you a Hue card.
Like they'll just kind of sell you any game for a set amount of money, burn it to a cart and send it to you.
They'll put 2 on 1, and instead of a region switch, you can have a game switch on your thing. Repros are definitely a weird gray area. Like, so for me, because I prefer to have a Super Famicom out because I'm an elitist weirdo.
Yeah.
It just looks nicer.
It's a cooler looking thing.
So
the
much
controllers,
better.
the colored buttons, it's huge.
So I have a game like Tactics Ogre, right? At Super Famicom. Not available in English. Maybe I'll buy or send someone a board to modify and I can slap that in my legit cartridge and then play that. Because I own that Japanese version of the game and I'm just kind of waiting to gut it and put something that has the English text on there.
Yeah.
That's kind of for me how I want to do it, and I don't feel so bad because it's a personal hobby sort of thing. I paid for the retail game.
Right.
Maybe the right thing is to pay the translator. I had never considered that. Like donate some money.
Right. Yeah. Because some of that stuff, it does get a little weird because like
and the translation projects can go on for like years.
They can.
Right.
They really can, especially in the case of something like Police Knots. Did you guys follow that at all?
A little bit.
That was
just
crazy.
I followed
Just
it like
finally
years
released,
ago. Like,
Yeah, exactly. It took like almost like 8 years or something like that.
I want to believe that someone somewhere is still working on a Sega Gaga translation. that's eventually going to happen before we die. But
I think I talked about that a while ago.
Some people have put in work, but it's never happened. There's some really awesome stuff out there that people are doing, modifying games. Like just in recent memory, two that come to mind is a team did they put out a patch for Super Pitfall, and it's like a 30th anniversary Super Pitfall kind of update, remake, whatever, where they redid all the music, they redid all the graphics. And kind of changed the game pretty dramatically. Like Super Pitfall for the NES is a piece of garbage. That game is fucking terrible. And they actually managed to make it pretty okay, which is like a neat, weird project.
Yeah.
And then there's a Metroid hack that came out recently that is designed to be a prequel, Rogue Dawn, I believe it's called.
Yep.
They have a map in it. Like it's weird to think that at the guts of that thing is still the original Metroid because of how much has changed. It's kind of cool. So like stuff like that is like a weird area too, where like, you know, it's still got the guts of the original game in there, but it'd be kind of neat to have a physical cart of that stuff. The only carts I have are prototypes that they did repro runs of and then sold at like CGE or something like that. So I have Adventure 2 for the Atari 5200. I have Combat 2 for the 2600. I believe Elevator Action for the 2600. I believe that was a proto that got
I think it actually came out
bundled up.
eventually.
Okay, maybe. Anyway, I have a handful of those carts that were just like, we're making 200 of these and selling them out, and like, okay, well, I'll get one of these. That's weird. and then I never use them.
I mean, if you want to get into like the moral quandary side of it, the fact that someone is producing a game, be it based on an existing game or brand new, they're skirting around Nintendo's licensing fees anyway.
Right.
I mean, you can poke holes in this thing from any direction.
Yeah,
and you're
like
gonna find a
everyone
problem.
has to draw their own line as
Right.
to what they're comfortable with. Like
Right.
there's a SNES game coming out in a couple
Unholy
months
Night?
here. Yeah, that fighting game.
Yeah,
and it
made
looks
by
awesome.
XSNK dudes.
Yeah, and like NCS is taking pre-orders for it, and I was looking at it going like, I should probably get this.
Have you seen the footage though?
I've saw like over the shoulder footage a
Yeah.
while back and thought like, it looks okay.
The game runs at 24 frames per second.
Yeah,
Like the final.
it's like a
version.
film.
Cinematic.
It's
reality.
awesome. Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of those things where, like I said, everyone has to kind of draw their own moral boundaries for
Yeah.
that stuff. If you want to get very technical and strict about the legality of it, it's all illegal.
Yeah, it's no different than downloading a ROM of a game you don't own. You're just
Right.
paying more for it to get a tangible version of it.
Yeah, and if it makes you
tangible,
feel
like,
better
patched,
to
like,
own
good-looking copy.
another version of it,
Yeah.
and that's where you draw the line. That like I ain't the cops. You do you.
Was Rendering Ranger the one?
Rendering
you were thinking
Ranger R2, that's the one, my man.
of? Thanks,
Yep.
chat.
That game's like $1,400 complete.
So these repros, like in reboxing, like how much are they running typically? Like off
So
the
if you go
shelf?
onto Etsy,
Sure.
fuck, here I go. I shouldn't do that. If you don't go to Etsy, no. I mean, you can pay as little as like $20.
Okay,
But
that seems reasonable.
Yeah,
right?
but and there's some people that actually manufacture new circuit boards rather than gut
wow.
an existing
Okay.
boards. That's because they're so popular now. That's a thing.
Yeah.
And they'll even manufacture new shells, which are kind of cheap for the cartridges. So depending on how you go on that route, depending on how high quality the label is,
Yeah, I'm trying to gauge like how much work is going into these sorts of things that would warrant like a $200.
sometimes, well, no one ever pays $200
Sure.
for them.
Okay.
But there was a place that was doing repros with like full boxes and manuals, and I think there's some that still do. But there was one in particular that was doing it for Super Nintendo games, and they were charging like $100 for theirs at times. But they're so high quality that on the collector's market now, because this company no longer exists, they're a few $100s.
Oh, gotcha.
Which is
Yeah.
nuts.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
When you start assigning collector's value to the repros, it just
Yep.
it gets really strange. But I guess it's well, I was going to say it's no different than the second printing of a comic book, but typically the second printing of a comic book is done legally.
Yeah.
And all that other stuff. So maybe that is a little different.
Yeah. It fluctuates quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of quality and price, and
Exactly.
all over the place.
Yeah, like the Adventure 2 thing I got, like that. It's super high quality. Like they did a box for it. They did stuff like the Combat 2 I got. They did a box. Like it's
Cool.
It's a well-made item.
By the way, if
someone sent in Star Fox 2 to us at one
Yeah.
point,
Oh,
they,
wow,
they had
that's
made
right.
a physical.
Did it
Star
have the
Fox 2.
superclocked or the overclocked chip in it?
I don't know.
They've rewired
There was
a ton of shit.
Yeah,
Okay, so it
it
probably-
looked like
God.
some weird work got done inside that
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
It was pretty crazy.
It was impressive.
if people want to venture down this weird rabbit hole that I have descended and that Peter Brown is
Lives in.
looking up at me, come down into it. It's a weird metaphor. My Life in Gaming. I mentioned it on
Yes.
EPF this week or last week. They're a YouTube channel, and they have a playlist called
RGB 101.
RGB
Yep.
101. Watch all those things. They're amazing.
Oh, that's
have-
for the
I
hardware
have.
mod stuff.
the hardware
specifically?
stuff.
Okay.
These
yeah.
guys are super affable. They speak very clearly, and they're not like they don't talk like they're above you. They're totally just like, look, this is every variable laid out in a logical order. Here's everything you need to consider. Here's what we would do
Yep.
with all those options in front of us. They're produced really well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also
They're really good.
search for Retro RGB. It's a website that is the resource for most of what they do.
That side I've spent some time on.
Oof.
And
It's a rabbit hole.
But every time I look at it, it serves as a really good warning, like signpost of just like,
Yeah.
don't go there. Do not
Yeah.
get in too deep. Because I read it and go like, oh no, and then
Well,
it cures me. It doesn't inspire me to go further.
It's like a 4,000 word article that has links out to a very specific topic, and you're like, oh, I'll just get a quick definition. Oh God, it's
Yeah.
another 4.
Yeah.
Talk to me about C-Sync.
Yeah, the dude Fudo, who I think runs that, has like a 40,000 word document that he's been consistently working on forever about like all the different like syncing videos, like just everything that it incorporates. That if you ever wanted to know, it's out there, but prepare yourself.
The knowledge is there.
It honestly like cleared up a lot of stuff just in video signals in general that I was really thankful for. Like that helps me with my job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned
Yeah.
a lot from those guys.
Adam writes in and says, as I've gotten older, I noticed that my hangovers have gotten steadily worse. Now that I'm in my 30s, I can't drink anywhere near like I did in my 20s without great consequence. My question is, what kind of hangover cures can you share that work best, and have you had to cut back drinking as you've gotten older?
I've only increased the drinking.
I'm
I'm actually being legit about that. Yeah, I drink a lot more now. But as far as hangover cures are concerned, like glass of water,
yeah,
couple Advil
Yep.
before bed.
Before bed.
And
That
you
would-
should be fine.
that's usually what I would do as well. Take
Yeah.
some Advil before bed.
I've realized
drink
that
some
I've got
water.
like restrictions on certain types of things, like beer. Like almost automatically gives me a headache. I can only do like rum.
I have not nailed it down to what alcohol does what, but I just kind of naturally tapered off on drinking
Okay.
because I just kind of got bored with it. I was just like, eh.
I want to get bored.
Also,
with
my
it.
tolerance got so high that it was very clearly like, if I'm going to drink, I have to very much commit to this and attack it and drink.
Okay.
Because otherwise, why, like the idea of just like, I'm going to have 2 beers. It's like, I might as well drink 2 glasses of water for all it's doing to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a waste of time.
No. No, I can limit myself to like 2 or 3 drinks.
Yeah.
Like after work or something like that, and I'm cool. Like I won't go full bore.
just doesn't do anything for me. So at some point, it was like, maybe I just take this as a sign to just like, maybe I just don't drink that much
That's
anymore.
fine.
So
I can share my secret. We've got a
All right,
secret.
what you got?
All right.
It's a multi-part. So protein is great for metabolizing alcohol.
Mhm.
So make sure you eat a lot of protein.
Okay.
Potassium is also very important because alcohol is actually pretty acidic.
I like meat. I like bananas.
If you ever find that
Let's do it.
your legs feel sore after
Yeah.
a day of drinking, it's because the acid is building up in your legs.
yeah, I would definitely get like that. I would not necessarily get like hangovers in the traditional sense.
Right.
I would just get leg cramps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So those two are important, but it's also just as easy as ordering a glass of water with every other drink you get at the bar.
Yep.
I do that, and without fail, if I do it, I'm not hungover. Sure, maybe I'll feel a little tired. I'm not sick. I'm not ill. And
Right.
a bartender is happy to give you a glass of water because they don't want assholes in their bar being totally wasted.
Yeah.
A responsible drinker, it makes a bartender happy.
Yeah.
And then, yes, the Advil before bed.
Yeah.
All that combined means you're a happy drinker.
Yeah, that was really all I ever got into. Sometimes I would wake up and be like, "Oh man."
Oh, yeah.
But that I don't know. That didn't get worse with age. It just kind of like would depend. Just like randomly, I'd be like, "Oh, boy, last night was bad. Last night got rough," or it didn't. But for whatever reason, I'm feeling extremely rough this morning. There was really no rhyme or reason to it, so it didn't necessarily get worse.
Yeah,
So,
I
so what
can-
I'm hearing here is the protein shake. We'll throw some like burger in there, some banana, some Advil,
Yeah.
and water. Mix it up.
Yeah.
Just have that before bed, and you're gonna be fine.
You could do chicken cordon bleu and just replace the cheese in the middle with banana,
Hopefully.
I guess.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I mean, you
Never
could
tried,
really
but-
just. I mean, I drink a lot of screwdrivers,
Okay.
so that's like I'm getting some vitamin C along the way there.
Yeah.
But a lot of sugar.
Yeah, a lot of sugar.
Sugar's a killer.
Yeah, well, it's worked out fine for me so far.
Okay. Okay.
But also I still like energy drinks with alcohol.
Really?
Like they,
What are you mixing with? Like I would do vodka,
Vodka.
if I
Yeah,
do
it's
it.
definitely,
Okay.
yeah. It's I like a vodka Red Bull. I know that they got a bad rap. The only people who drink them are assholes.
Whatever.
But maybe, I guess I'm that asshole.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much a Four Loko, so.
Yeah, and now that the fucking government took away Four Loko and Sparks and everything that was good, I'm forced to return back to the rogue ways of mixing it on my own.
What about Chuhai? Drinking Chuhai domestically.
I have never drank it domestically.
You can go to the Nijiya market in Japantown. They used to sell an American version of the brand from Japan, which used malt,
Okay.
which is disgusting in my
Yeah.
opinion. But now they carry the regular Chuhai. It's not the same brand, but it is the same ingredients and
That's what
flavor.
you're looking for.
It is the best.
Yeah, no, that's drinking in Japan was always fun because it was either that or like we talk about the big beer, but it's like that Asahi that's just like this and has the plastic fucking handle clamped to it.
And it's 300 yen.
Yeah, exactly. You get one of or you get like a bunch of those because then when the first one is empty, you can take the plastic handle off, put it onto another one that's still full, and then it's like you're drinking out of a trophy like Ogre from Revenge of the Nerds.
Yep.
And you're just fucking it's great. You need to go to Japan. We need to go to Japan.
I would say I concur with the drinking water before you go into bed. And it is much better to wake up in the middle of the night and go pee and go back to sleep than it is to wake up the next morning with a massive hangover. So drink a lot of water.
Sure enough.
Yeah.
I think I do like one big glass per drink I had if I missed them.
There was one summer where I drank more than most other summers combined, probably. It was real rough. We were living at that trash house, and just my roommate was like, "No, here, I'm going to show you why we should get into Jägermeister really heavily." And I was like, "I don't know, I guess, all right." And like, it's disgusting, but like, I threw up a lot. And that's a good way to cure hangovers also, is to get all that fucking bullshit out of your system before you go to sleep.
Yeah.
That's a bad way to go, but
lesson was learned.
Lesson was learned, I guess. I don't
learned
know.
a lot of
or was
lessons
it?
the
I
hard
don't
way.
know. I don't know. Okay, David in Florida writes in and says, as a youth services librarian, I was awarded a grant that gave our public library an Oculus Rift and Touch. I've never used VR myself, but I'm pretty familiar with the platform as I've watched you hooligans destroy your hands and stuff. Yeah.
Sorry.
Kids already use our library's computers almost exclusively for games, like Roblox mostly. So I expect interest in the Oculus will be huge. Do you have any suggestions for using VR so that many people can try it safely, quickly, and perhaps with a slight educational bent? Thanks.
I would say get those alcohol swabs.
Yeah.
Like in individual packets that you can just rip open and then clean out the inside.
Yeah.
You can also get the paper masks as well.
Yeah, a
to
little
do that whole
gasket.
thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's another way to go. Because people will sweat in that thing. It'll get a little weird. You know, you might people transmitting pink eye or something. The mumps. Who knows?
Didn't that happen at PAX like 2 years ago?
Yeah, that was the
like
talk. Is
I
that
think
there
that
was pink eye
was-
going around, but then at the same time, yeah. Well, so there was one year that it sounded pretty legit, and then
Okay.
there was one more recently where someone was out there doing it. This is like, dude, that doesn't
work that way.
does not seem legit.
Okay.
So with slight educational bent, I mean, there is stuff.
Google Earth.
Google Earth.
Yeah, Google Earth, which will not run on a Touch and Rift combo right now. It still is Vive only unless you hack it. So you could hack it pretty easily.
Fantastic contraption.
Yeah, that would be a good kind of
What was
motor
it?
skillsy kind of thing.
What was the sculpting one that you?
Yeah, I mean, there's Tilt Brush will
Tilt
run
Brush.
on it. Also, Oculus Medium, the
There we
sculpting
go.
thing.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's pretty neat. You know, and there's also stuff like where you're kind of building, like Chunks, which is the kind of roller coaster builder thing from the Gary's Mod studio.
Yep.
I would say like even something like Job Simulator allows you to be like creative and mess around in a fun way. I think that's important.
Yeah, and then there's other stuff where it's like, hey, here's the Apollo moon mission in VR or
Yep.
whatever. Like there's stuff that's just straight up raw and educational that.
Yeah, a bunch of like not 4D videos, but like the 360 videos, I guess.
Yeah,
From
that stuff is still neat to see.
Yeah.
I would maybe start with that stuff and then get into the games, because once you've seen all the games, like the less interactive stuff becomes a little harder to sit through.
You know what? I would play VR Encarta.
I was actually going to jokingly bring up Encarta.
Really?
But yeah, totally. Like that would be cool.
That would be a cool
Producer
like,
mind meld.
You could probably do a really cool encyclopedia interface in VR
Yep.
with hand controllers of just like expanding through data or something. I don't know.
Links to a video. Oh yeah.
I haven't thought about Encarta in like a decade.
What were you thinking about it a decade ago, though? Because that was still way past.
I was thinking,
Encarta.
man, I haven't thought about Encarta in a decade.
Exactly. This just goes back to This goes back to a Usenet post of someone saying that they were thinking about Encarta. Let's see. Craig in Yorkshire, England says, I've been trying to follow the Nintendo Switch news, specifically the plans for their online services.
Oh.
All right, there you go. All right.
Oh.
On the Bombcast last week, you mentioned that it had been confirmed that there are no plans for Miiverse or Street Pass for the Switch. I'm not sure this has been confirmed as an absolutely not or a nothing to announce yet situation, but with the move to a mobile app to manage the online services, don't you think it would be crazy if Nintendo didn't incorporate Street Pass or something similar to it? Aside from being a perfect fit to have such a service on the device you actually do carry everywhere with you, it would make paying for the service a bit more palatable and help to further explain why the mobile app is a better idea than having it included in the console directly. Yeah, I was thinking about this. Like, if they just have Street Pass stuff installed to a mobile app that then you walk near people, but then that's you leaving Bluetooth on all the time.
Right. Sniped.
That's, that's you, like, turning on all these battery draining services and stuff. But I guess, like, if people are doing that for Pokemon Go now, maybe it would be an option they would consider.
I mean, they did confirm that there's a Mii Maker on
Yeah.
Switch.
What a bummer.
So
Like we aren't done with the Mii's yet.
Yeah. But relative to this, right? Maybe something will live on. Maybe it just won't be called or won't look, the same as it has.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but it does seem like leaving an opportunity on the table.
Right.
Especially with all the stuff they've been showing about the Switch being a portable gaming system that you bring out and you play with. I mean,
I think it's been like
do that,
it's almost like a battery life consideration at that point.
Yeah.
Of like, if you leave this in some kind of sleep mode, that's maybe not the best way to go.
Sure.
What if you could load like a virtual pet from the Switch to a device with a screen
Tamagotchi.
that you could carry around
Like some
with
kind of
you?
Chow garden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
What if? I the online services stuff and having it all based on a phone on one hand seems like a potentially elegant solution to handling matchmaking and stuff like that and giving you a second screen to do all that stuff while you're still playing a game. But also it kind of also seems like a cop out of like, hey, we've been so terrible at this stuff for so long.
We're just going to offload
that
it.
now we have to offload it to an app.
It would be an elegant option.
Yeah.
I don't want that as the only solution.
Yeah, like I kind of like the PlayStation app stuff.
Yeah.
And the Xbox app has been
Xbox,
okay
yeah.
as well. So I think there's definitely room for that. But I don't know, having voice chat work through a phone and then charging for the service seems... that seems like a very hard thing to justify. They haven't announced pricing yet, so maybe it ends up being something super reasonable.
Just need to put an FPGA in that Switch and they'll problem solved.
Exactly. Yeah, that solves every problem. Yeah, just done. Let's see here. Michael writes in and says, the PS4 and Xbox One have reasonably mature libraries at this point in time. Like many people, I've gotten by with just one of these consoles, the PS4, and a Wii U. Do you think there are enough compelling exclusive games on an Xbox One or PS4 to justify picking up one of those consoles? And if so, what exclusives would justify such a move?
Shit. I mean, KI has been like, that was always my day one, like, fuck, I need an Xbox now.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I can't think of any super
Yeah,
compelling
like
It was Puyo
maybe.
Puyo Tetris. but-
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very personal thing. Everyone's going to have a different answer,
Certainly.
I think. But
Another big thing for me, it was the player base. A large group of friends that were just like hell-bent on just sticking with Xbox. So it's like, fuck, if I want to play online, I got to get that, I guess.
right,
But,
yeah.
other than
Yeah,
that, I
I don't know. I mean, the PS4 has some of the, like Yakuza 0 is only
Sure.
out on the PS4 or well, then PS3, I guess. But
I think the answer changes when you have a PC.
well, yeah. Also, I think that the third-party games, that largely third-party games are driving interest in gaming. Period. Like the exclusives from Sony, the exclusives from Microsoft. Like I don't think they're doing it. I don't think that they're major players anymore. The same way that they have been, the same way they were last generation. Like when you think about like the way Halo was, when you think about the way Gears of War was, even God of War. I mean, obviously they're rebooting it, and I think there's interest there, but I don't know, like God of War and even Killzone to a certain extent, whatever you think of as the marquee Sony first party stuff, Uncharted.
I mean, for whatever reason, I tend to gravitate towards Japanese games, so it's just a very simple solution. It's PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
I mean, Xbox One just doesn't have all that. And it's not because it doesn't have Japanese games. It's just that, like, games come out that I happen to like. They happen to be made from Japan, and Sony happens to like publishing those games and funding them.
Or just the developers in Japan are going like, well, no one here owns an Xbox, so we don't even think we're going to make it for that. Yeah.
True.
I think that's definitely a case. I think, I like driving games, and there aren't a lot of those anymore. And Forza has done it better than anyone else in terms of that style of driving with Motorsport and with Horizon. So, that's a big point in their favor as far as I'm concerned. I have never really connected with Uncharted or God of War or most of the Western developed Sony first party games, and also the stuff that comes out of Japan I think is few and far between and has never really been my thing, or has not been my thing in a long time either. So like Sony's first party output is very uninteresting to me. Typically.
I heard you love Gravity Rush too, though.
So I heard you love Gravity Rush too.
Yeah. I don't get it, Peter.
Like
I want to get it, but I don't get it.
Like the look of it, I like.
Oh, yeah.
I like the style it has. I think like there are elements of its story that seem really fascinating about their kind of class stuff and,
Mm-hmm.
and all that. But man, playing that game,
It just clicked for me.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, like I'm not taking any sort of like objective standpoint. No one can.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
But
we're
like,
gonna fight about this until someone is right. That's how this works.
it clicked for me, and I played the first game on PlayStation 4, so maybe it was because I had
wow,
some
okay.
familiarity with it on that platform. But yeah, I mean, it felt really good. I was definitely waffling between an 8 and a 9, and it was really the feedback I got based on the text I had written. Everyone was like, "Well, this reads like a 9," so I was like, "Well, if it reads like a 9, I mean, I wrote what I feel." So
Right. Yeah.
yeah, interesting, very interesting game, and I just happen to really like what it does. You know, the gravity stuff.
Yeah.
How it opens up the world, and how I felt like using that as my playground. And just it means, just talking about that puzzle game earlier, just flying around that world felt good, even if I wasn't trying to do anything.
It sure looks cool.
Yeah.
You know, like I can't deny that. Like the style of especially the way the flight looks of just like falling into the sky and stuff just has a really unique, just cool thing going on.
Maybe I'm just like super empathetic and I could feel what she was feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I didn't finish it, so this,
Yeah, I get you. I get you.
But when you see one, you just lurch and throw your body.
Yeah.
Butt first, yeah.
Yeah.
I just I would really like a new Ape Escape.
Fuck yeah.
I would really like a new. I was gonna say I really want a new Parappa, but like the more I think about it, I'm not actually sure that I do.
I only discovered recently there's a full season of anime.
Yeah, like relatively recently too.
Oh, that okay. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'd rather watch that than probably play another Parappa game, unless they were able to get. I actually have a problem with the way those games controlled. Like the inputs are. The timing
it's a very tight window, which is why those games didn't work on an HD TV.
Right.
It was it was built in a CRT era.
Yep.
They put that game out on, was it PSP, and then that game came to Vita. Is that what it was? Anyway, there was a portable Parappa. They re-released it, and I think at that point they kind of widened the windows. They put out that demo for Parappa demo for PS4. And they widen the windows there too. Like it is playable on current. But it is still like your first time through that game. It is very tight. It is very rigid. When you kind of play through it again and go like, okay, well now I'm going to be rapping cool and I'm going to try to freestyle and use the D-pad to kind of repeat the same words. Like there's an element of player control over it, but compared to where rhythm games have gone in the time since, it's still not. It's not enough.
That was such a weird, cool thing at the time.
Okay, you guys keep saying cool, which makes me think of a game. So I'm going to present 3. Cool Tune.
Yeah. Cool Jam.
Guitaru Man.
All right.
Or Parappa.
Guitaru. I'm not as familiar with the first one.
Cool Tune is a Dreamcast rhythm game.
SNK did it, and it linked up to a Neo Geo Pocket game.
Shit.
Cool Jam.
That's right.
They did a Neo Geo link cable that only worked with like 2 games.
Well, now the answer is just that.
I've got that link cable. If you ever want to, do anything with it, I've got that somewhere. I think Guitaru Man is probably like gameplay wise the coolest, and I love its style.
Super weird in ways that Parappa doesn't approach.
Yeah, but like Parappa also speaks to me in a very hip hop way that I appreciate as being like this fucking weird. Like when that thing came out, like we imported it. We imported a copy of Parappa because it was one of those things like there's no way this is ever coming here, and it was fucking awesome. It was the same way that was a game that like the same way I felt about like Katamari, like playing that for the first time at TGS and going like, this is incredible. There's no way it's ever coming out in the US. Yep. And then they both did, which was really weird to see as well. But like the world of Parappa, the style, like Rodney Greenblatt stuff does way more for me than the gameplay of Parappa does.
Okay. So then Guitaru Man or Jammer Lammy?
Guitaru, I think still. Yeah. I
don't
don't have strong feelings against.
So, Jammer Lammy has the unlockable mode where he plays Parappa.
Yeah.
And I liked that a lot.
Okay. So, teach his own. I like Gravity Rush too, so I can't blame you.
And I won an Jammer Lammy tournament and won a guitar. There's video evidence of that.
Won a Blitz machine.
Yeah. Yeah, I like those games a lot, and I even liked Parappa too. That was where a lot of people were like, "Man, this really fell off. This is super done." But it was not as catchy. Like the material was not as good, but it was still there at the time there was kind of nothing else like it, and so I've become a Parappa fan of the characters, the world, all that other stuff. For whatever that's worth. In terms of gameplay, yeah, they're going to re-release this game, and you're going to play it and go like, what did anyone ever see in Parappa? This plays like shit. Like, rhythm games have come so far since then. You look at something like Thumper, and you look at something like Parappa. You're I maybe see how one led to the other, but also you kind of can't go back. It's not that exciting to play Parappa now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a high level of nostalgia. I mean, those were groundbreaking, and man, great games at the time.
But they did put out a mixtape, a CD in Japan that had like De La Soul on it and stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, like there was just like a bunch of crazy material around Parappa. I've got a little Parappa figure that is holding a McDonald's fries, and you pull the fries out, and then Parappa vibrates as the fries go back. He's like, he really wants those fucking French fries, and I can't blame him.
He's jonesing.
And so I really like the Parappa character. Seeing that stuff performed, that video went around last year. That video of the event that I went to for the Jammy Lammy launch party, where they fucking got on stage and performed all the music from Parappa and stuff, and had the guy that had everyone there doing the voices and stuff. It was fucking amazing.
Okay.
Like, also I was wasted.
Were you drinking water in between?
No, I was not.
Lessons were learned.
That was a dark trip in a lot of ways. One of my first trips to New York, back when New York was still New York.
Okay.
Filthy.
Yep.
Filthy.
That's still gross, but
And I bought episodes of Mask on bootleg DVD from some comic book store.
Oh my god!
Um,
What? You guys are the best. No one knows Mask. Whenever people talk about their favorite cartoons in the '80s, I was like, "Have you seen the intro to Mask?"
Yeah.
Do you know
animation? Oh yeah.
God, R2D2's dilapidated cousin is also a scooter.
Yeah. No, Mask is. When was the last time you watched an episode of Mask?
Like legitimately since I was 5.
Okay.
probably.
If you want to have fond memories of it,
Just
keep it
watch
that
the
way.
intro,
yeah.
Do not sit down and try to marathon Mask.
All I
because
need is the
you
intro.
will want to end your goddamn life. By like episode 2, you're like, oh my God. They spend the first third of every episode just assembling the team, which is like funny, but holy shit. Yeah, that show.
Great intro.
I
Great
love
toys.
it. I love it. The great, fantastic
Show
toys.
itself.
I have the volcano van that had the battery power that would
Fucking
pop up
rad.
in the little turret. Anyway, yes, that it was awesome. So I have like weird personal connections to the Parappa franchise.
By way of Mask.
By way of Mask. And my fandom of it is caught up in a lot of that stuff as well. So
It's legit.
so yeah, I would love to see more Parappa stuff, but you're right. I think a season of anime might be more interesting. Also, I remember hearing that the guy that did the Parappa voice was like scamming money out of people on Reddit or like whatever it was.
On Reddit or Twitter or something like that.
Dread Fox. I think his name. Yeah.
The more you know.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on here. We covered this stuff. Trevino in Texas wrote in to say, I want to get an update from Jeff about his undertaking to sort through his game collection. We've been getting bits and pieces since 2012, but it's been too long. How organized has it become? It is way more organized. It is in way more set boxes, but it's just there's so much stuff, and which is kind of why I've been talking about getting rid of some stuff. So we were talking in New York that it sounds like you have reached a point where you're like gonna pare down a little bit.
Yeah, like my point of collecting was always to have stuff that I either care about, I really want to play, or has some historical significance that I find interesting. I never collected just for quantity.
Yeah.
Yet somehow I have lost my collection within my collection.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's nuts. And man, like, you know, I'm starting to get to the point where it was like I'm putting stuff in my girlfriend's parents' garage because we moved into a new apartment, and I was just like, wait a minute, no, this isn't good. Like, not only do I have things that I'm not going to play, like it's just like the burden of owning so much shit, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think I was also preaching to you about the Japanese art of tidying up and decluttering, the KonMari method.
Yeah.
And I kind of started going through my stuff, and I got to a point where I was like, this is what I'm going to sell. The next day I felt like I was walking on clouds. Like I felt so much better. It's super weird.
Yeah.
But it totally works. And so the book totally validated everything I was feeling and thinking. So I've got my stuff separated. I'm doing a very poor job in terms of selling things, in that all I've done is trade 3 games for a PVM.
It takes up more space than the 3 games.
Yeah.
But all right.
I'm at the point right now where I essentially just want to hire someone to sell my stuff for me, because my desire to get rid of it is is stronger than my desire to make as much money as possible in the process.
Right.
Yeah. And so I'm at a weird spot where, I never really set out to have a video game collection. But being the reviews editor of a publication for a decade and, so on and so forth, you end up on a lot of mailing lists. And at some point you're like, well, okay, here's a game. We don't need this copy for coverage. I'm just going to take it home. And suddenly you end up with like 9 sealed copies of Madden from various years. And, some of it's like awesome. Some of it like, and some of it is very useful because like when it came time for us to play Mario Party 9, I had a sealed copy of Mario Party 9 at home.
It's a great feeling to have.
And it was like, okay, I've got that. I'll bring it in. We'll
not
use
that
it.
feeling.
Not-
specifically.
No, not
Right.
specifically. Like it was like staring down a fucking barrel of a gun. Like I've got Mario
It's a
Party.
wake up call. It's like, oh shit, what have
just
I
a-
gotten myself into?
But understanding that you are a means of other people like having access to this thing, and it's not necessarily like being the vector to it, but it's just sort of like, I don't know, like feeling that attachment, being able to share
Right.
with other people. Like that's part of the reason why
Yeah.
physical media is still important, because
Right.
it's a tangible thing that you can share with experience with others.
Yeah, and I've got a sealed copy of God Hand. Just
Yeah.
and I also have an open copy of God Hand, which I'm not like
Me
the
too.
hugest God Hand fan. It's cool.
Sure.
Um,
Dudes and thongs fighting.
yeah, it's it's neat. But I've come into a lot of weird shit over the years, and a lot of weird memorabilia and stuff like that. That like now that I'm starting to think about, it's like Steve Lynn and Frank Cifaldi, and like the guys that are like really kind of into the preservation stuff in a way that I am not, and
Right.
maybe would like to get into in some way. Like now I'm going like, okay, I should probably actually start getting this stuff together and sorting through it in a way that is like, okay, I'm going to get rid of all this paperwork. Like I got this TGS press kit that
Whoa.
Nintendo put out. Or I guess it would be Space World actually, or something. It was a Japanese press kit from Nintendo with a CD in it and stuff like that. Like I'm just gonna give this to someone who
Right.
will do something important, like preserve it in a way that like it's sitting here in this room is not doing anyone any good. Like let's just get this stuff out there.
Yeah.
Like prototype games and stuff like that I've got. Like I'm trying to make sure that all that stuff gets backed up and preserved. Like I got these Sega CD review copies that I've been looking at and going like, okay, actually, I'm pretty sure this copy of Marky Mark is identical to the retail copy. Like I've started comparing that
CRC
stuff,
checking it and stuff. Yeah.
and looking at the dates on the files and all that other
Right.
stuff to put all that
Headers,
stuff together.
yeah.
And
You got to think about environmental conditions too. Like my girlfriend's garage is not a good place to
Yeah.
preserve a video game.
no, yeah, and my garage is not outstanding either. I mean,
Yeah.
it's fine. And I've got stuff in plastic tubs that vermin's not going to get into and
Yeah.
destroy, which happened some years ago.
But
when I had
temperature,
cardboard boxes, but yeah,
right.
temperature,
all
that
that
other
stuff. That freaks me out.
Yeah.
They live in Twin Peaks, like Fog City.
Oh, sure, yeah.
What the hell am I doing?
Yeah. So I'm looking at it in terms of just like I should probably start looking at different museum options
Yeah.
and stuff
There's
like
the
that.
one in Oakland,
and,
yeah.
and
Maid,
start
yeah.
thinking about like, okay, like there's stuff here that I will want to keep. There's some stuff here that I will feel kind of obligated to keep. But a lot of it is stuff that I have no personal connection to, and it would be better served like to just be out there for people to look at, whether this stuff gets scanned and preserved,
Yep.
or it's in a condition and it's by people who care about this specific end of gaming in a way that I maybe don't.
I mean, like when you look at your collection now, maybe you're like me, where I see everything and I'm like, that's a lot of video games. It's not like I love every one of these.
No,
video
definitely
games.
not. Like
You know
I
what mean?
don't
Like,
love most of them,
Right.
because like it's 9 boxes of PS2 games that
Yeah.
I received for review or received in the mail after we had already reviewed them, and it was like, oh, well, I've already played through this game. I don't need to play it right now, so I'll just take it home and set it on this shelf, and then it moved to this shelf and this shelf and this shelf, and before you know it, you have 500 PS2 games, or whatever it is.
Ideally, you would only have the ones that really make you happy.
Yeah. Which is a much smaller number than the ones that I have. So, yeah. So then there's that aspect of it of just like, okay, am I actually going to start? Will I cross that gap and start actually getting rid of software? Which to me has always been like, it's very easy to justify like, oh, I've got this library, like I've got this library going, like it's not complete, it's barely useful, but when we needed that copy of Mario Party 9, it was there. When I wanted to play some Wu-Tang Shaolin style on the internet yesterday, I was able to do that because there's a copy sitting right there. I would keep the Wu-Tang game. That wouldn't be one I would get rid of.
I wouldn't suspect so.
Yeah, no, that it's a terrible game. I feel like that's actually my main concern is I would if you actually asked me to go through and keep the games that meant something to me, there would probably be more awful games that I would go like, I gotta fucking keep this than truly amazing ones.
But if they make you happy, it's not about the game being people say this is an amazing game, therefore I should hold on to a copy, right?
Right.
It is like, no, this brings me joy.
That is my feeling on God Hand. Is like that was something that I pulled out when like, I have a sealed copy of God Hand. Weird.
Yeah.
I have no connection to God Hand.
Right.
There are plenty of people that do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not really looking to make a bunch of money on stuff either. So like the idea of going and selling them, especially
it's
the logistics of like selling a bunch of stuff that I got as review copies and stuff like that.
Oh, that's a mess.
That's a
That's
weird
a mess. Yeah.
That's an ethical, strange place that I just don't.
Yep.
Even after all these years, still feel strange.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's a fucking mess. I look at it. I look at my video game collection as here's a room full of stuff. In with this stuff is a bunch of boxes of games. 3 boxes of Skylanders and Infinity figures that showed up in the mail that I didn't open in a lot of cases. So then there's like the thing of like, it's mint on card. I should keep this for 20 years because this Skylander is going to be this Toy Fair exclusive Skylander. I should probably hang on to that forever, right?
No.
Fucking no.
No.
Jeff,
What am I doing?
I recently bought Skylander Supercharged. I could use some stuff, by the way. Okay, just telling you. All right.
Maybe that's where this stuff ends up.
Could you use 4 copies of Slalom on NES?
How about 6
Man, I
copies
like
of
that game.
Pac-Man for the 2600?
Yes, I only have 6.
All right, I have 5 2600s.
God damn it.
Like the Vader one, the all black one's awesome.
Yeah.
I have a 6 switcher. Like I've got variants. Like I didn't seek them out.
You don't got a Denny's variant, motherfucker.
I do not have a Denny's 2600. That's true.
But you can come into it if you walk to my desk and take it away from me.
Okay, I'll do that. I
Immediately
will
after
absolutely do
this.
that. I want
Yeah.
to see that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and I look at it as like, and there's just as much weird stuff that's like tangentially related to games. Like here's a foam finger that says GameSpot on one side and button mashing on the other from the game show that we did years and years ago, that for whatever reason they made those and gave them out at E3. And that's cool. I look at it and think of Rich Gallup and go like, yeah. We did that show. Huh.
I get it, but there's totally something, to decluttering your space, your life.
I mean, right now it's
some of that stuff like absolutely needs to be preserved. That foam finger in particular.
well, yeah.
But it's like finding the right.
I have another
home
foam finger
for it.
that is the Spike VGA's peace sign foam finger that they sent out to judges.
Man, oh wow!
I think they probably had them at the event too, or whatever it was. But I've got one of those. That should, on some level, I guess that should probably be preserved, right? Both of those things are elements of gaming history. The little squeezy ball that has the GameSpot logo on one side and like a Scion car, come to our booth and win a car on the other side, that they gave out at E3 the year they had a fucking car in the booth. Does someone want that? Like, is that gonna sit in a fucking museum someday?
Someone does.
It's like, hey, here's this fucking weird thing. Should I just toss that? Because I look at it going,
Yes, you should throw it away.
Yeah.
You should throw it in the garbage.
I probably should.
Or donate it.
Donate it.
Yeah, that's
Sure.
it's a weird ephemeral thing that speaks to a very specific era of games coverage that I don't think exists anymore. And car in the booth, fuck man,
That's cool.
all right, yeah. So so I look at it. So right now I look at it as like, okay, in my garage there are tons of boxes and they're organized, but they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And the room that you saw in the video we did years ago, it like I look at it and I know it's sorted way more than it was then, but if you looked at it, it would not look any different.
I'm in the same boat as
Oh,
you.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
It's a struggle. It's tough.
You look in that room and go, fuck.
What's the quality like nowadays, Jeff?
It's all this is all high quality, museum quality, high grade stuff.
Okay.
The GameSpot squeezy ball. I try not to squeeze it because I don't want the printing to come off.
Uncut memorabilia.
You ever tried to catalog all this stuff?
I've got all the games cataloged.
You do?
I can run down. I've got on this laptop and then actually on the internet. It's not quite complete because I'd have to manually import some games that are not in the database. But the site Libib, LIBIB.com.
Yep.
I've got a collection page going there.
Crazy.
I wish our data. We're talking a lot of data about the wiki right now because GameFAQs has better release level data than we do, and we're thinking about like, are there ways to merge all that together? Because then we would have really good UPC codes and release data and all that other stuff that maybe we could pour into. Maybe I could convince someone it's a bad idea. It's not a money maker. Maybe I could convince someone someday to make a really good collection feature. We shouldn't do it, there are better solutions out there. There's no
Yeah.
fucking reason to do it. I helped build the one that was on GameSpot for a lot of years and felt really good about it for a long time. And then some things changed and I couldn't keep my collection on GameSpot anymore. And the collection stuff has been a fucking shit show thorn on my side ever since. On in Michigan says, hi guys, I need your seemingly infinite old game knowledge in coming up with the name of a game from my childhood. I remember playing this game on my older cousin's PC. We played a 2-player co-op. It was a level-based 2D game where you shot at enemies fire flower style and turned them into snowballs. I'm going to stop to see if anyone's got it yet. No? All right, I'll keep going. You could then push the snowballs into other enemies. When you killed the enemies, you advanced up a level with a different layout with boss levels coming every now and then. I think the objective was to rescue the princesses.
That kind of sounds like Bubble Bobble, but with different elements.
Uh-huh. You're almost there. The only other thing that I remember is feeling pissed because after finally beating level 100, we rescued the princesses just in time for the main characters to get kidnapped, and then you started over with the princesses. Hoping you can give my childhood memories a name. Thanks for any help in this matter and laughs over the years. I'm almost positive. I've never finished this game, so I don't know about the princesses thing, but that's Snow Brothers. Snow Bros.
Yeah, when you said Snowballs, that came to mind. I've never played Snow Bros. So
It's basically Bubble Bobble.
Yeah.
Except you...
I thought it was just on the NES, though. It was on
No, that was an arcade game.
okay.
I'm guessing if you played it on a PC, that it may have been the arcade version
Sure.
coming out of Rain, depending on what era they played it in, or MAME more recently.
Yeah. Restarting as like the characters that you just saved. That rings a bell. And I think you're right.
That's probably Snow Bros.
Yeah.
Prince Nick and Tom, the Snow
Yeah.
Brothers. Here comes the snow.
Brr.
Yeah. There's a bunch of weird sequels to Snow Brothers that are really crazy. There's a character select screen that shows like a more realistic drawing of one of the Snow Bros. And it's fucking haunting. It's fucking haunting. All right. I'm going to scroll back through these and take one last question here. Because there was one I skipped that now I'm like, actually. Matt in Queens says, I just got back from a Riff Raff concert. Long story. Whoa. I bet. And I noticed that he and all of his opening acts that did a few songs had the original vocals and raps for the song still in the backtrack mix that they were rapping over. I know this is pretty common practice. It wasn't my first rap show, and I would hardly call Riff Raff a show anyhow, but who cares? I had a blast. But it really stood out seeing 7 or 8 acts in a row all doing it. In addition, I've seen plenty of rap acts just rap over their beats, but that looks to be the exception to the rule these days. Why do so many artists keep their own vocals in the backtracks for live shows? Is it to keep their place in the song in case things go off the rails, or something else entirely? For me, it only adds distraction and calls attention to when they're not rapping the exact lines. You ever been to rap show? You ever seen this?
I mean, yeah.
I remember the first time I ever encountered it. 2 Live Crew put out a live album.
Okay.
I believe it was called As
gotcha.
Live as They Want to Be.
Yep.
And
I think I had.
I bought it because I was in junior high.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's them rapping over the songs that have the rapping on it still. So
Okay.
it's just like, what are you even doing? Like, it just sounded crazy to me to learn that was then.
But it's so they can go like off track, right?
It's so they can, so I saw the Insane Clown Posse live.
I'm sorry. No, I would like to see ICP live.
It's worth seeing.
Yeah.
Don't
Within
you
the
go.
crowd or without the crowd?
I want to be right in the middle of the crowd.
So ICP we saw them in Sacramento. And they have never been that big on the West Coast. It may be a little different now, but like it was not a sold out show the same way it would have been in Detroit or something like that. Like they don't tour out west the same way they tour through the Midwest.
I didn't know that.
Because that's where the ICP fan base is.
Gotcha.
So they wouldn't come out west all that often. They actually were supposed to play Petaluma and canceled the show. They were there.
Oh my God.
They were fucking there. They were there. The Fago was loaded.
Yeah.
The Fago trunk was loaded into the back. It was ready to go. They were going to go on stage. They looked and saw how many people were in the crowd. And they're like, oh, Violent J is sick, you guys.
Oh.
Dicks. Fuck those
Seriously.
guys. Anyway, I digress. We stole some Fago out of their case and left.
As you
Because we were backstage.
Yep.
It was the same theater that I played a lot of shows at, so it was very easy to get backstage. It was
Very easy to
Everyone knew
steal
everyone.
Fagos.
It was
Good
not a-
move.
Yeah. Anyway, seeing that show was awesome in a weird way because it's barely them rapping. Like you're not going to an ICP show to watch them perform the songs. You're watching them spray fucking Faygo all over each other and do wrestling moves on each other, and then occasionally yell half the lyrics. So in that case, like the raps have to be on the backing track because what the fuck, they're barely. They might as well. The mic's might as well not even be on for a lot of that show. But like I don't know. Like I've seen acts over the years. Like I saw Snoop Dogg on the Up in Smoke tour, which they put out on DVD. If you want to see a giant devil skull come down and ask you for some weed, that's like a midpoint in that show. They shot this whole intro video that's Dre and Snoop in a liquor store, gunning down of some robbers that were trying to rob the place.
They didn't have that at the CES party where Snoop Dogg played.
Yeah, no, they did not have the glowing devil endo skull. No, unfortunately,
he came out 45 minutes to an hour late.
Yeah,
did about half of 4 songs and stopped almost each one to make fun of the middle-aged white business suit wearing motherfuckers in the crowd.
I would not expect anything less from a Snoop Dogg corporate gig, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like that's.
Oh, I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, I
was entertained.
So that tour was amazing. B, it gave me an additional level of respect for Snoop Dogg because he rapped every goddamn fucking word.
Nice.
And did it incredibly skillfully. For as much as that man smoked, he was able to. He had breath. He had lung capacity.
Sure.
He was able to perform that entire set. And then he was out there for half the Dre set and all this other stuff. It was like, oh man, this is okay. He's actually doing it. So I don't know, like the way a lot of those rap shows go of people just rapping over their own lyrics and dropping words here and there.
Yeah.
Or having 9 people on stage so that they can have 8 hype men with towels shouting the words along the way so they can take breaths whenever they need to. Those sorts of shows only make the ones that aren't that way more impressive.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Live hip hop is a strange beast. It's a weird thing, but yeah.
You want to talk about out of place? I saw the Roots play at a college in Maine in a little basketball court for this little no-name college, and there's nobody there.
Yeah,
it was Roots and Toots and the Maytals opened.
Fuck,
it was a great fucking show.
Jesus Christ,
yeah,
man,
that was a good night.
Yeah,
yeah.
That sounds.
And they did not have backtracks; they did their own stuff, as you would expect.
Yeah,
right,
yeah, of course, of course. I think that's just kind of become par for the course for a lot of rappers, but I think there are still people that care about the art of the performance and probably still put on a pretty good show. And not to say that like shows that are like them yelling over their own lyrics are always bad shows. They're just probably good in a different way.
Yeah.
This guy he sounds like he had a pretty good time at this Riff Raff show.
There you go.
So
someone has to.
Yeah. I don't know. Every clip of a Riff Raff show I've ever seen is that thing of not only does he have the background tracks, but there are like a ton of people on stage too. So he's just like, for this whole verse, I'm just going to do push-ups. Like, all right, yeah, no, this is actually what I paid to see. I thought I was coming. No, this is actually better. Watching Riff Raff do push-ups in the middle of his set is probably more interesting than if he was just like super tight on the mic.
We brought him into Game Informer one time and had him pitch a game idea, which went about as well as you can expect.
Yeah,
he's an interesting dude.
He definitely seems that way. I wish. Riff Raff seems so close to being like very self-aware and amazing at every level. There's
moments that you think that he gets it and he gets himself, but then you see a little glimmer in his eye and it's like he's not all quite right.
I had he reminds me, there was a guy that was the front man of a band that he replaced me in the band that I quit, and then went on to start his own thing. And it was like they were rapping, but they had a live band. His friend had one turntable, and so he would just scratch on it while the band played. And then eventually I think they got rid of the turntable. And he would dress up in full cowboy regalia.
Good.
And like it had this kind of like Kid Rock quality to it almost. Okay. But he had this dynamic front man, like this approach to the performance in terms of just like how he wanted to be this persona. Mm-hmm. That just I look at Riff Raff and I see my friend Rob in it all the time. Like, that's what that is. I ended up playing some shows with them. It was super fucking fun. It was just ridiculous. And you have to just kind of sign on to be like, I'm gonna be part of this fucking ridiculous thing, and it's just gonna be dumb, and we're gonna have fun.
Hell yeah.
If the people in the crowd don't, we don't fucking care. So I don't know. I had a good time.
Fuck the fans.
Yeah, pretty much. It was the Hood Slam approach to live performance. And with that, I think we're gonna wrap it up. send your emails into bombcast@giantbomb.com.
I will.
And we will take them next week or in every week from here to the end of time. So that's it. Peter, thanks for coming by.
My pleasure.
I'm going to come look at that Denny's. I'm going to take that Denny's stuff off your hands for a little bit and
Yeah.
hook it up and see what's up with that.
No worries.
Maybe we'll take a look at that on the show this Friday.
I'm totally down.
I
Yeah,
think
need to see
Hashsteroids is a game.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
It's whetting people's appetites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Literally
We're going to take a look
figuratively.
at Hashtroids
I'm hungry.
for sure. And then hopefully going to get game tapes going this week. We got a
Fingers
set of tapes
crossed.
captured. Brad will be back in here. We'll take a look at some tapes. So, yeah, among other things. Everybody have a good week. We'll see you next Tuesday.